The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall, presiding as usual over a vintage assortment of tales of mystery, terror, excitement, and suspense. Someday we shall simply have to rid ourselves of all the well-worn cliches that obscure our speech and corrode our thinking. And for our present purposes, we should start with the one that says, ignorance is bliss. The fact of the matter is that the truly ignorant are seldom blissful. Indeed, they are usually unhappy, suspicious, stubborn, and frustrated. True, a little bit of wisdom may be dangerous, but a great deal of ignorance is usually fatal, as we shall demonstrate.
That garden. I've never seen such flowers.
Beautiful, aren't they?
Yes, how do you grow them?
Oh, that's my secret, darling.
How should there be a secret between husband and wife?
Well,
The whole neighborhood's talking. How do you grow such flowers?
you wouldn't want to know.
Tell me.
No.
I insist.
Very well. It's how you water them.
Oh? Well, how do you water them?
With blood.
Our mystery drama, The Flowers of Death, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Sam Dan and stars Mercedes McCambridge. I'll be back shortly with Act One. There are those who strive to be different, who march to the rhythms of their very own drummers. And these are a breed apart. When they succeed, we hail them as geniuses. When they fail, we confine them as madmen. In either case, they remain a mystery to most of us. They are beyond the common understanding. This is because, for so many of us, the usual tendency is to play it safe. The usual advice is, don't stick your neck out. The usual goal is to be like everybody else. Don't rock the boat. Don't make waves. These have been articles of faith for Walter Morrison and for Gretchen, his wife.
Hello?
Darling,
Walter, where are you?
at the office. I called to tell you I'll be late for dinner tonight.
Oh, Walter.
Well, it can't be helped, dear. Parker's in from the coast, and I can score some points if I hang around and just chat with him, okay?
All right.
We should ask Parker and his wife out to dinner.
Oh, she's really a horrible woman, Walter.
Well, sure she is, but Parker can do me a lot of good.
All right, dear.
I'll see if I can set him up. If it's go, wear brown.
Brown?
Yes, it's your least flattering color. You shouldn't look too good. She's older than you, and she'd resent it.
Yes, dear, I understand. Is there anything else you want me to do, Walter?
No, that's about it. See you later.
Oh, just a minute.
Hello.
Yes. What is it?
I was right.
You were right about what?
About you.
Oh, look, I don't buy anything from door-to-door salesmen.
In that event, may I trouble you for a glass of water?
Water?
Actually, I'd prefer a glass of wine if you had it. I suppose it's an odd request. In this century, in this place, in this time, the concept of hospitality has ceased to exist.
Sir, I'm really very busy.
Now, consider your ancestors. They would have invited me inside with a hearty welcome, prevailed upon me to stay for supper, spend the night.
I'm really not interested.
Today, the stranger who rings the doorbell is directed to the nearest motel, if indeed the door is opened at all.
Oh, you'll have to excuse me. My telephone is ringing.
No, it isn't.
I warn you, I'll scream for help. I'll call for the police.
You simply don't know how to handle this at all, do you?
What do you want? What are you selling?
What do you need?
I already told you I don't want to buy anything.
That's not what I asked you. I asked you what you needed.
I don't need anything. Now, please just let me close the door.
Is that really true, that you don't need anything?
Yes.
You have everything your heart desires.
Yes, now, please.
Love, happiness, fulfillment.
Yes.
Think carefully. Don't answer quickly.
I told you, I don't want anything you're selling.
I'm not selling anything.
Well, then why did you ring my...
As I was walking by, I saw you at your window. You reminded me of someone. Someone I knew a long time ago.
I'm really not interested.
You should be. I mean you no harm.
Then what...
I saw your face. It reminded me of someone I loved once. But I can't remember her name.
Oh, please, I'm frightened.
Don't be afraid. You remind me of her. But who was she? There were so many. I must tell you, I loved deeply and with all my heart, but not for long. Never for long.
Who are you?
God.
You're what?
I should say, a God.
That's
That's what?
impossible.
Why?
Because everyone knows...
What everyone knows is usually nonsense. It's what you know, what I know that counts.
You say you're a god.
Remember, I can see your mind. You've decided to humor me. You believe that I'm a lunatic. You hope I'm harmless.
Oh, why do you say you can read my mind? Isn't it natural for me to think that a person who...
My name is Dionysus,
Dionysus?
the ancient Greek god of wine and growing things.
Well, I don't care much for wine, but I wish you could help me with my garden.
You are beautiful when you smile.
Suddenly this whole thing just makes me laugh. Why do you say you're Dionysus?
Because it's true.
I'm dreaming. I must be dreaming.
What are dreams?
Dionysus. I remember I had a course at school, at college, in ancient lit. It was a long time ago. Dionysus and Apollo, yes, and Zeus and Pallas Athena.
My sisters, my brothers.
Dionysus, the god of growing things. I think I fell in love with you then.
I know.
Why have you come to me now?
Because nothing grows in your heart anymore. What is this life you lead? This dull, empty life.
Oh, I'm very happy. Walter and I, we're happy.
Gretchen, why does nothing grow in your garden?
Oh, things grow. They do.
Then why did you say you wish I could help you with your garden?
Well, because...
I know, because nothing grows with beauty, with fire. Once, in another life, you were in my garden, the garden of Dionysus.
I remember now. Yes.
And I'm sorry for the way it ended. You remember how it ended?
Yes.
It always ends badly when one of the immortal gods loves a woman of the earth. The garden. Do you remember the garden?
I remember.
You will live in that garden again.
With you.
That garden shall be in your own heart, and everything beautiful will grow from it. I have walked the world and wandered the centuries in search of you. And now I've found you again. I love you.
I love you. But will you leave me again?
Never. I will always be in your garden. My thought will always be in your heart. Come, love. Let us walk in the garden.
Come in. Walter. Have a chair, my boy.
Well, thank you, sir.
Read the report, Walter? First-rate job.
Well, I appreciate that, sir.
Well, now, Walter, Carraway's resigned.
Yes, so I've been told, Mr. Baylor.
And you don't have to be told. The assistant general sales manager's job's wide open.
Well, I don't have to be told that at all, sir.
It's the jump, Walter. The big one.
Yes, I've been aiming for it these past 10 years.
Well, we just don't promote a man around here. We promote a team.
A team?
A man and his wife.
Oh, I understand that.
Glad you do. Man has to have the right kind of wife.
Yes, well, Gretchen is absolutely perfect, sir.
Good. I'd like to meet her.
Well, sir, may I invite you to our house for dinner?
Well, thank you, Walter. I accept. What did you say her name was?
Gretchen.
Sounds like a frivolous name.
Well, her real name is Margaret, sir, but you see, Gretchen is a kind of nickname.
I prefer Margaret.
Well, Mr. Baylor, I'm sure we can call
You see,
her...
my boy, it's just after that very unfortunate experience with Caraway's wife. Here we have a man who's assistant general manager of this company. And his wife is practically a hippie. Gets her name in the news with all kinds of unsavory and disreputable people.
Yes, I understand, sir.
You might say I'm snake-bitten. We, the company, we simply cannot afford to take...
Yes, naturally, Mr. Baylor. I can assure you that that my wife is everything the wife of an executive of this corporation should be.
I'm sure of it, my boy.
When would it be convenient for you to dine with us, Mr. Baylor?
Are you free Friday night?
Yes, of course.
Good. Friday night for dinner.
Thank you, sir.
And Walter, I think I can offer you my congratulations.
Oh, my love, don't leave me. Stay.
Margaret, are you all right?
My love, you're not going. Oh, not yet.
Margaret.
Not yet.
Margaret.
What?
Honey.
Oh, I was dreaming.
Well, this is, unlike you to just nap on a couch in the living room. Are you all right?
Yes. It was only a dream. Oh, but I don't have dinner ready. I must have fallen asleep.
Well, that's all right. I'll take you out. We'll celebrate.
Celebrate what?
It's happened. Assistant General Sales Manager.
Oh, Walter.
Remember that's what we aimed at 10 years ago? Well, today we hit the target.
Is it official?
Just about. Only one tiny detail.
And that is?
You.
Me. What
have you got to do with it? Everything.
Oh, I don't understand.
Now, listen, Margaret. Why do you think Caraway resigned?
What did you call me?
Margaret.
Oh, my name is Gretchen.
Well, yes, perhaps, but Gretchen comes from Margaret.
Oh, I don't like Margaret. That's why I call myself Gretchen.
Well, Margaret suits you better, dear. It's more mature, more dignified.
I don't think so.
Well, Mr. Baylor does.
Well, why should my name be any of Mr. Baylor's business?
Darling, before we get sidetracked, I asked if you knew why Caraway resigned.
What does Mr. Baylor have against my name?
Caraway didn't jump, darling. He was pushed. His wife didn't fit in.
What does that mean?
Evidently, a man's wife has to fit a certain image in this corporation.
Well, I was never involved in any of your business things before.
Yes, I know, but now it'll be different.
Why did you say Mrs. Caraway didn't fit in?
Well, she wasn't too careful about what she said.
Why? What did she say?
Well, you met her. She's the type who says a lot of kooky, oddball things.
All I know is that she said to me she couldn't take this rat race serious.
Well, a corporation is supposed to be your life. You just can't say things like that in front of people like Mr. Baylor.
Well, do I have to meet Mr. Baylor?
Darling, what's gotten into you?
Walter, is the company your life?
Well, of course it is. It's always been. It's my career. It's our living. Now, that should answer that question. Now, you're going to meet Mr. Baylor here Friday night. He's coming to dinner.
Did you have to invite him?
He wanted to look you over here in your own setting.
Why?
Well, to determine whether you'd be an asset to the company.
I see.
Darling, what has gotten into you? Why all these questions?
I'm sorry. I had this dream.
About what?
I can't seem to remember.
All right, forget it. Come on now. Let's go out to dinner right now.
Okay. And Walter, you're Mr. Baylor, I promise you, he'll be proud of me.
Darling, I know that. Now, where would you like to eat?
Oh, anywhere.
Now, just remember, we can now afford the very best.
Walter, look. Look.
What is that?
The garden.
What about the garden?
Look at the flowers.
Well, where did you get those flowers? They weren't here this morning.
Look at those colors. Did you ever see such colors?
Yes, red, such brilliant red. Roses and carnations and... I've never seen such beautiful
the
flowers.
Garden. Our garden. His and mine.
What did you say?
It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a dream.
Well, where are we? We have a quiet, rather shy and self-effacing middle-class suburban housewife, just this side of 40. A stranger rings her bell, announces he is an ancient Greek god, Dionysus, and that he wants to be her lover once again. Notice that again. Well, it has to be a dream, you say, sure. But how about the sudden blooming of that lush, brilliant, beautiful garden? How about it? Further growth must await my return in just a few minutes with Act 2. Is this how it was in the ancient days? Did the gods appear in dreams? All the loves we read about between the immortals and their human subjects, were these all dreams? Visions? Well, we don't know. We present only the facts in the case. And the basic fact in this case seems to be that suddenly the garden of Gretchen Morrison is a lush, luxuriant riot of color after she had dreamed that she had a love affair with the ancient god Dionysus. Well, people have had even more extravagant dreams, from what I've heard.
It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a dream.
What are you saying?
Nothing.
Darling, how did you ever get all those flowers? Well, I'd say it's miraculous.
Hi there, Gretchen. Walt.
Oh, hello, Porter. How's the golf?
Hey, what have you folks done here?
Well, you know, Margaret, she just putters around in the garden.
Margaret? Who's Margaret?
Oh, that's my nickname for Gretchen.
What have you done to your garden, Gretchen?
Nothing.
Oh, come on, Gretchen. I'm willing to abdicate gracefully. June and I consider ourselves the garden people in this neighborhood.
Well, Porter,
And quite frankly, Gretchen, we never saw you as a threat. What I mean is, you did have a few respectable-looking plants.
Yes, isn't it fantastic, Porter?
Is it a fertilizer, a new kind of food?
Now, dear, don't give away your secrets.
Oh, come on, Gretchen. We've always been good friends.
Well, they just grew, that's all.
Oh, very shrewd, and I don't blame you. Every one of them is a sure winner at the Garden Club show next month.
Well, just think, Porter, this will be the first year you're not going to win.
I'll get to the bottom of this somehow.
Yeah, well, good night, Porter.
Night.
Margaret, how did you raise those flowers?
Huh? Oh, I suppose you could call these the fruits of love.
Margaret? Margaret? Oh, there you are. Didn't you hear me call you?
You were calling Margaret.
Now, look, dear, it's only for Mr. Baylor's sake.
My name is Gretchen.
Well, all right. Well, just go along with it for tomorrow night. Now, what are you doing out here?
I'm sitting among my flowers.
Well, shouldn't we be inside with dinner?
I was just listening.
Listening to what?
To what they were saying.
To what? Who's saying?
My flowers.
Your flowers? They can't say anything.
Oh, that isn't true, Walter. They're speaking now.
Well, I don't hear anything.
You don't hear flowers. You see them. Each color has a meaning.
Now, Gretchen.
That rose bush just in front of you. It isn't the same shade of red all the time. From instant to instant, it darkens and then lightens as the flowers feel and think.
Margaret, quit this nonsense.
Walter, it isn't nonsense.
Yes, it is. Now, dear, I know you're under a strain.
But I'm not.
Yes, you are. And I was thinking about it. Now, tomorrow night is the most important night in our lives.
It is? Why?
Why? Oh, my God.
Which one?
Please listen. Now, you and I, we've worked for this. We have 10 years invested in tomorrow night.
Oh, please, Walter, you mustn't excite yourself like that.
Tomorrow night, we cross the Great Divide.
The what?
That line that separates the successes from the also-rans. Tomorrow night, a door will open for us, and we step into the executive suite.
Oh?
Yes, oh. And that door will be opened by Frederick Tower Baylor, or it won't be open.
Darling,
It all depends on you. Now, here's what you have to do. I got this list from Mr. Baylor's secretary this afternoon.
Walter, dear, I was in the midst...
In the midst of what?
I was talking to these flowers, and now I think your anger has frightened them.
Margaret? I mean, Gretchen.
Yes?
Gretchen, you don't feel well.
Oh, no, I feel wonderful.
I've never seen you so...
So what?
Well, you're usually so sensible.
I've never been as sensible as I am at this very moment. All my senses are alive and free.
Do you think... Should you see a doctor?
Why?
Because you're not well.
That isn't true.
Gretchen, what's wrong?
Nothing is wrong. Even if I were ill, which I'm not, what would a doctor do? Prescribe a pill? And what would the pill be made of? From the essences of the very plants and flowers and growing things right here in my very own garden. So you see, all I need to do is just stay here.
Now, would you look at this list? Mr. Baylor is a steak and potatoes man.
Is he?
Dinner should be no problem. Just the steak, French fries, a salad, and ice cream. And he likes the steak rare.
Rare?
Yes, practically raw, with the blood just about dripping from it.
He's very close to the primitive, isn't he, your Mr. Baylor?
Now, look, let's not even joke about it, all right? And furthermore, he isn't my Mr. Baylor. He's our Mr. Baylor. It's our future.
My dear, I shall not disgrace
You know,
you.
these past few days, I can't follow things around here. It's these flowers in this garden.
Yes.
And the way you've been talking.
Which way is that?
I don't know, but it isn't your usual way. You're not the same person.
Oh, but I am.
Oh, no. There's something very different about you. Now, please, dear, on this tremendously important night, don't do anything that would spoil anything.
Walter, I don't like the look on your face.
What are you talking
That
about?
look. No human being should appear that troubled.
Well, it's important. How many times do I have to remind you?
Nothing in this life should be that important. You look as if you could kill somebody.
Well, maybe I could. After all, if you're out to make it in this company, you have to be a killer.
Walter.
I don't mean you have to commit murder exactly, but you have to step on people and, if necessary, destroy them. Eliminate them as rivals.
Well, that's committing a kind of murder.
Well, look, why are we standing around here and talking about it?
Have you destroyed many people on your way, Walter?
Now, what kind of a question is that?
Have you?
I suppose I've sidelined a few in my time.
Walter.
Well, it was them or me. Now, come on, this whole conversation is out of place. Now, about tomorrow night.
Walter, my dear, I shall not disgrace you.
Margaret, we're here.
Well, Walter, it's a nice-looking place you have here. Yes, indeed. The little woman is certainly a lady of good taste.
Oh, thank you.
Well, good evening.
Dear, I would like to present Mr. Baylor, who is executive vice president.
How do you do, Mr. Baylor?
Hello.
Do you like my gown? It was worn by the ancient Greek women, especially on festive occasions.
But did you prepare a picture of martinis, darling?
No, my dear. We shall have wine later.
Wine?
Oh, yes. Wine made with honey. The ancients called it mead. Delicious.
Well, yes, but darling...
And we shall have a most wonderful supper. A meal that would be enjoyed by the gods themselves. Goat's milk and cheese, bread and fruits, and dates and nuts.
But, darling, I told you that Mr. Baylor...
But that will come later. First, I have prepared a bath for Mr. Baylor.
You what?
Dear...
Well, you bathe, don't you, Mr. Baylor?
Well,
One must separate himself from the cares of the day before one can enjoy the delights of the evening. And so you must wash away.
I don't believe this.
Dear, I
now,
really
Mr.
think...
Baylor, we'll use the main bath, and Walter, dear, yours is waiting for you in the guest room. And now, if you'll excuse me for just a moment, I shall make sure your bath water is properly scented. The pitcher of goat's milk is there, on the sideboard. It's ice cold and delicious.
Walter,
Sir, I really don't know what to say.
is this your idea of a
Now,
joke?
Mr. Baylor, please believe me.
Because if it is, I'm not amused.
Mr. Baylor, I really don't know what to say.
That ridiculous costume and goat's milk and cheese.
Well, there must be some mistake. I'll straighten it out.
Well, this is exactly what I have to guard against. I thought Caraway was married to a cook, but yours...
Well, I'm sorry, sir.
Well, you should be.
Mr. Baylor, where are you going?
Where do you think I'm going? Home.
But don't you see she's been ill? Yes, that's it. She hasn't been feeling well lately, sir.
Really? You'd never know it to look at her. Good night.
Now, Mr. Baylor,
Well, whatever became of Mr. Baylor?
Whatever became of Mr. Baylor? Do you mean you have to ask?
Where did he go? His bath is ready.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
Have some milk. Here, drink it. You'll feel much better. Walter, why did you do that?
Margaret, do you know what you did to me?
I don't like that name.
You know what you did to me? You destroyed me. Now, please tell me why. Why? Why did you destroy me?
But I didn't.
Tell me why. We've been married 15 years. I thought we loved each other. I don't know of any reason you would have to hate me. Now, why? Why did you suddenly destroy me?
How many marriages are there like this? A man works hard with a single-minded dedication to getting ahead in his company. His wife sits at home, gardens, does some club work, but mainly and mostly she waits for him. The big thing in their lives is the job, the career, the company. I suppose the answer is there are many marriages like this. Even the best of machinery breaks under stress, and human beings are not the most perfect machines. We'll see what repairs, if any, can be effected when I shall return with Act 3. There's a man who shares your bed, your board, just as you share his. You share a bank account, automobiles, a house, a boat, a place in the community. And then one day it becomes clear to you that you don't share each other. That is, you share things, but you really don't know each other. As a matter of fact, you're strangers. You've been married for 15 years, and you're strangers.
I don't want to discuss what happened here this evening.
But what did happen?
You deliberately ruined whatever chance I had to become assistant general sales manager.
Well, if you have the ability, how could I have ruined your chance?
Because in this company, ability isn't everything.
Well, then in that case, quit and take a job in an outfit where it is.
Well, you just don't understand. And I don't have time to explain it, but you're ill.
No, I've never felt better.
What you did tonight, was that the action of a rational woman?
I think so.
Would you do something for me? See a doctor.
Why?
Oh, Margaret.
See, that's what's wrong with me. You call me Margaret.
Well, that's just for Mr. Baylor's benefit.
Well, he isn't here now. And why should I give up my identity for the sake of your boss? Isn't it bad enough that you gave up yours?
Margaret, what's gotten into you all of a sudden? Now, you never spoke this way before. You were always so reasonable, so cooperative. Now, what is it?
Oh, poor Walter.
Don't take that tone with me. Now, Mark, Gretchen, listen. Will you help me?
I'm trying to help you. Come on, let's walk in the garden.
Oh,
let's enjoy the beautiful growing things.
Gretchen, I want you to see a doctor.
No.
Please, do it for me. There is something wrong with you. Are you aware of the things you said to Mr. Baylor? Darling, we live according to certain rules.
I know. And I don't like those rules anymore.
Gretchen, you're different. And I'm scared. Now, just see a doctor, huh?
But I told you, Walter, there's nothing wrong with me.
Well, just let me hear the doctor say so. And I promise you, I'll abide by his decision. Mr. Baylor?
Yes?
May I come in, sir?
I'm busy.
This won't take a moment. Mr. Baylor, I want you to give me another chance.
I think the matter is closed, Walter.
You know I'm the best qualified man in the company.
Not in all respects, Walter. I'm sorry.
She was ill.
I'm sorry to hear that.
She's being treated for it.
I said I was sorry.
You know, this business we're in, it isn't easy, and it takes its toll.
That's why it takes a special kind of man who has the support of a special kind of wife.
Well, she's worked hard, and she's tried hard all these years with me, and I guess the strain was just too much.
Walter, I don't think I can see my way clear.
Please, sir, let's give her another chance.
better that this thing should happen now rather than later. We can nip it in the bud. She'll be all right, I promise.
Well...
In a few weeks, she'll be just fine. You'll see.
Well, I'll think about it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And he said his name was Dionysus?
Yes, Dr. Marks. And don't tell me he didn't appear.
If you say he was there for you. Why should the name Dionysus occur to you? Where did you ever hear it before?
Well, I suppose in college in the study of mythology. And that was years ago. I never even thought of it.
But you absorbed it. And you now have the classic conflict between Apollo, who represents duty, and Dionysus, who is desire.
But I never...
All people face this battle. In some, it rages with more fire. In some, the flames are banked. But in no one is it ever dormant.
But the garden, the flowers and plants, and the growing things, how do you account for them?
There's a reasonable, rational explanation of sudden coming together in one spot of wind, water, soil.
But this garden, he said, and I know, it's the fruit of love, our love. I sit there among the blossoms and I know he's with me. He's talking to me.
My dear Gretchen, you'll learn better in the winter.
What about the winter?
In the winter, the garden will die. And so will this dream.
Yes, my love, yes, I hear you. Yes, I see you.
Gretchen!
What? Oh, Porter, you startled me.
Oh, is this your secret? Do you talk to your flowers?
Of course.
I just can't understand this garden. It grows more beautiful every day.
Yes.
Come on now, Gretchen. What's the secret?
Oh, it's a garden of love.
For sure, but how does it work?
It's the love of two people.
Okay, I won't ask. I'm satisfied just to enjoy it. I do have a confession to make. I was so wild with envy that I came in here the other night and I stole a small rose bush.
But you could have asked me for it.
I planted it in my garden and the next morning it was...
Oh?
I was careful. I handled it gently. I watered it and fed it. But it died. It withered completely, as if it had died a long time ago.
Perhaps it did.
Gretchen, what's come over you? You seem so different, so...
Yes?
Well, you always struck me as well, I'll say it, a very quiet little person. And now you glow all over.
I feel there's a glow inside me.
Ah, Gretchen, it's beautiful. But I see now it's an awful beauty. It's a frightening beauty.
Fear and terror. It's all part of beauty.
Those crimson flowers, that red. It's like the red of blood. These flowers, they look as if they're being nourished with blood.
They are, Porter. They are. How did you know?
How did I know? Well, good night, Gretchen. Good night.
Hello?
Gretchen, it's 4 o'clock. I called to check.
On what, Walter?
To make sure you were at the doctor's.
Oh,
Well, you have an appointment. Did you forget?
no.
Then what are you doing at home?
I don't care to go.
What are you saying?
Well, why should I go? I'm not the one who's sick.
Mr. Baylor is giving us another chance.
Oh, Mr. Baylor, what an unfortunate man. He should spend more time with growing things. Bring him home with you tonight.
I'm on my way right now, this minute. Now, don't you go anywhere.
Why, Walter, where would I go? Drink this, Walter. You'll feel better.
Darling, I spoke to Dr. Marks. There is something wrong with you. Now, why don't you help yourself?
There's nothing wrong, dear.
How can you say there's
I
nothing...
feel alive, Walter. All of me, every part of me. Come to the garden with me, Walter. You'll live, You love like a god.
Yeah, something's come over you. Don't ask me what, but a week ago, something happened.
Yes. Something happened.
You changed. Well, I can hardly believe you're Gretchen, my wife.
I'm Gretchen.
You had sense. You had a knowledge of life. Well, you and I, we worked together toward a goal.
Yes, dear. But I found a better goal.
You did? What?
Love.
Love?
That was the secret. The secret of the ancient gods.
Now, Gretchen, I'm going to drag you to the doctor.
Oh, if you must fight, fight like a man with your hands. I despise you.
Now, what has happened? You can't just suddenly tear down our life. What's wrong with what I'm doing? Why shouldn't I work for the Baylor Corporation?
Because it's a house for slaves.
Well, it's my job. We agreed. You never objected. It bought us this house and the cars.
And turned us into fawning, simpering, terrified slaves.
Okay. Everybody in the world is a slave to something. That's what life is. You give to get.
Yes. Everyone is a slave. But I have been freed.
What do you mean freed? By whom?
By my lover.
What lover?
He's in the garden.
Now, Gretchen, you come back here.
If you want me, fight for me. Fight him for me. Oh, love, stay with me. Don't let anyone keep us apart.
Gretchen, who are you talking to?
My lover. Don't you see him?
You mean there's another guy? Someone else?
Someone else who gives me what I need.
Who?
He's a god.
Who is he?
I told you.
I'll choke it out of you.
He's a god.
Who is the guy?
Walter, you're joking me.
Who's the guy?
You're joking. Walter. Walter.
Who?
Please. Bury me here. In my garden.
Gretchen.
Oh, please. It's dark. And no one will know. Oh, please.
Hello, Porter.
Hello, Walter. Just dropped by to see if there's any news of Gretchen.
No.
Well, keep your chin up, fella. Maybe she'll come back.
Yes, I hope so.
Did you two have a fight?
Well, it was more of a misunderstanding.
Oh, I'm sorry. Have you notified anyone?
Well, I reported it to the police, but... Oh, and Dr. Marks said that she must have wandered off.
Funny how the garden, that beautiful garden, just withered without her.
Yeah.
She was right. She said it was the fruit of love. Without her love, it just...
Yeah.
Well, I just don't want to take up too much more of your time.
No, it's all right.
I wish I could figure out why those luxuriant plants grew so suddenly, and just as suddenly they died.
Well, you know what Dr. Marks said. Sudden coming together of sun and rain, soil, water.
Yeah, that's right. She's an inscrutable gal, that Mother Nature.
We'll never know.
I guess not.
Well, this is a good chance for me to say goodbye. I'm off on a trip.
Oh?
Yes, I made general sales manager.
Oh.
Finally, yes. Poor Gretchen. Came too late for her. How she wanted it, how she would have enjoyed it. Well, say goodbye to June for me, huh?
Okay, Walter, I will. Walter, is it my imagination?
What?
The garden.
What about it?
Those plants. Walter, that color, that crimson color, the scarlet color. Look.
Why, that looks... That's blood. Blood.
Oh, you're crazy. It's just color.
Am I? What, just look, blood on all the withered blossoms. Fresh, bright blood all over the garden. Gretchen.
What do you mean, Gretchen?
It can't be her blood. It can't be.
Well, whoever said it was.
It can't be because there was no blood.
What do you mean there was no blood?
When I killed her, there was no blood. She fell, you see? And she struck her head hard against the tree, but there was no blood.
Walter, do you know what you're saying?
I can prove it. Dig her up, you'll see. There is no blood. No plot.
Well, there was some in the garden, in the beautiful garden of Gretchen and Dionysus. And the garden is no unusual garden, for all flowers have something in them of the one who plants them and watches and waters and nurses and loves them. I'll be back shortly. The struggle, the never-ending struggle between Apollo and Dionysus, between duty and pleasure, between what we want and what we must settle for, is fought inside each of us. And sometimes it's Apollo who conquers, and sometimes Dionysus. Happy, however, is he or she where neither has conquered, but where both spirits can live side by side in peace and quiet. But too much quiet gets boring after a bit, so make sure we disturb yours tomorrow. Our cast included Mercedes McCambridge, Larry Haynes, Robert Maxwell, and Gil Mack. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. And now, a preview of our next tale.
Don't bug me, Louise.
What are you doing? Trying to empty the bottle?
Maybe I have a reason. I might catch up with you.
Why, you're shaking, Jim. What is it, Jim? What's the matter?
I was followed. Somebody followed me all the way home.
I've asked you not to walk the streets alone at night. Who was it? What did he look like?
I don't know who it was. All I could hear was the footsteps. Just the shadow of a beat behind mine. As though she, whoever it was trying to fit their feet into my footprints. Every time I stopped, they stopped. And when I turned around, there was nobody there. Nobody at all.
Radio Mystery Theater was sponsored in part by Uncle Ben's Long Grain and Wild Rice. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
This is WEEI Boston.
Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. The past haunts all of us. We all make mistakes, sometimes accidental, on occasion deliberate. But let's be honest. What haunts us most is that they might catch up with us, leading us where and how far. Let's consider the case of Jim Beecher.
So, just where have you been so late, and with which favorite actress, as they like to call them in the newspapers?
Don't bug me, Louise.
What are you doing? Trying to empty the bottle?
Maybe I have a reason. I might catch up with you.
Why, you're shaking, Jim. What is it, Jim? What's the matter?
I was followed. Somebody followed me all the way home.
I've asked you not to walk the streets alone at night. Who was it? What did he look like?
I don't know who it was. All I could hear was the footsteps. Just the shadow of a beat behind mine. As though she, whoever it was trying to fit their feet into my footprints. Every time I stopped, they stopped. And when I turned around, there was nobody there. Nobody at all.
Our mystery drama, The Follower, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Ian Martin and stars Jerry Orbach. No terror is so heart-stopping, so breathtaking, as the terror of the unknown. Facing it is bad enough, but to have it remain constantly behind you is the very essence of fright. To have a something fit its steps into your very own is the quintessence of every bad dream you've ever dreamt. Who Jim Beecher is, what he is, matters little for the moment. All of us share his fear. Except, perhaps, his wife, Louise.
What do you mean? Nobody there.
Just what I said. For heaven's sake, nobody behind me. Nobody even on the street going my way or the other. Just me, alone. And the sound of those footsteps.
If I were you, I'd lay off the drinking. There's where your footsteps came from.
And if I were you, I wouldn't bring up the subject of drinking.
Well, what else do you leave me to do? You're never home. I live here like a hermit.
It's my job. I'm an agent. 24 hours a day, I gotta shepherd a bunch of half-baked egos that are busy making me a millionaire.
We don't need the money, Jim. I have plenty. You should know it's the reason you married me.
Come on, baby. You know better than that. I could have had my pick. You know that.
Yeah, I know. Every piece of cake in the business. But you chose me.
Hey, let's not get into that Brannigan again. If you can't get the notion out of your head that I'm constantly cheating on you, what you need is a shrink.
After tonight and the way you're acting, I think the shoe's on the other foot.
What's that mean?
Well, you must have a guilty conscience.
About what?
You pin it down.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I am talking about the wee folk.
What?
The knobblocks, the leprechauns, and the slimy things that go bump in the night.
You're drunk again. Why don't you go to bed?
And I'm not drunk enough to sleep yet. Why don't you?
I don't feel like going to bed.
I can just bet not. It might just sneak in behind you right under the sheets.
What?
You know, the follower. Whoever's dogging your footsteps, your invisible shadow.
Knock it off. What happened to me tonight was no joke.
What happens to me every night is no joke either. So don't ask me to be sorry. I just ask you one thing, Jim.
So ask.
Go see a psychiatrist. He might be able to clear this up for you. He might be able to clear up a lot of things.
That sounds more like a threat than a request.
Maybe. I love you, Jim. But I'm awful close to the end of my rope. You have so many enemies. I'm one of the few who still isn't. But if I walk out on you, it'll be what's ahead of you that'll be your real problem. Not what you think is following you.
Louise?
Yes?
Can I come in?
Of course, it isn't locked. It's our bedroom, after all. And I'm always hopeful, even if it has become more and more hopeless.
Hey, don't let's start that round again. It's just... Well, I'd like to come back to my own bed if I can.
Well, you were the one that left it.
You know how many late nights my work calls for? I didn't want to disturb you when there's plenty of room in the apartment. That's the only reason I moved out.
I'd accept any reason as long as you're moving back in. What's the matter, Jim? That private ghost still dogging you?
No, it's just like...
It's just for once you need someone, and I'm all that's at hand. All right, Jim. It's your own bed, so come on, crawl into it. I'll try to keep your goblins away.
I don't deserve you.
You're right, you don't. But you got me. What is it, Jim? What are you so scared of?
Nothing.
What's the matter, Jim? Does she have a large husband with a quick temper and a gun collection?
Who?
Whoever that you were showing how to become a star overnight in another bed.
Damn it, Lou, I told you. I was at a skull session for the Tom Bernard show. It's a mess. It's got to be rebuilt by tomorrow night, or we're up the creek without...
All right, forget it, Jim. Just lie close to Mama. I'll keep the monkey off your back, whatever it is.
Hey, don't give me any of that jive, Bessie. You're on the stuff again. That's why you didn't show. What do you mean Deke's in the hospital? So he's got nurses and doctors to take care of him and you to foot the bills. That's why you don't cancel without talking to me first. Sure, I wouldn't have let you. You think you're big enough to call the shots? Okay, save me the sob story. You want to sing blues, sing 'em on the job. And you show up tonight at the club or I'll bust you right out of show business.
She loves that husband of hers, Jim. He pretty near croaked last night. You were pretty rough on her.
Ah, the hell with that, Murray. She loused the agency up last night by not showing. I spent enough building up that crazy dame. She should slip me the double O by not showing for a date. Anyway, she's never going to make real big time. And I'm sorry now I signed her long term.
So let her go.
Not till I make my dough back out of her. And a profit. Then I'll drop her so hard she'll bounce higher than the Statue of Liberty.
You know you're a first-class rat.
It's what makes me a success. And you, Murray, don't ever forget it. So, let's see what else is new on ulcer making.
Don't go looking for trouble. Everything else is smooth as glass.
What about the short fuses?
The Astrodome met all our terms. Tickets are being printed already. The demand is sensational.
Rock stars. Once I dreamed of better things.
It's where the money is. What's better?
I wanted to find and develop a Helen Hayes, a Carol Channing, a Sarah Bernhardt.
Well, that's running the gamut. But why? There's no big money in the theater. You know that.
Big money I took care of right at the beginning. I married it. What I really wanted was fame.
You got it.
Nah, not this kind. I wanted class, Murray. Respect. Maybe even a kind of a place in history. In show business, I mean. Like Saul Hurok, David Belasco.
Forget it, Jim. You're not the type. A thief you are. A thief you'll stay.
Hey, I never stole a cent in my life.
Not so you could get caught at it. But you wheel, you deal, you cut corners, and you don't give it to anyone but yourself. You're an operator. Best in the business. Isn't that enough?
I don't let anybody talk to me like that.
You already did.
I ought to can you right now.
The only friend you've got? Who'll you have to talk to?
Yeah. You'd probably walk right out of the agency and use all you know to cut my throat.
Who needs to? Most of show business is trying to do that already. But you're too slick for him. Nobody. Nothing can stop Jim Beecher. Ah, come on.
We should have taken a cab. It's starting to snow.
That's nothing. It's just like powder. It's only 6 blocks. A little air is good for you. What's the matter? You got a crick in your neck or something?
Huh?
Well, the way you keep moving your head to the side like that. Like you were looking over your shoulder. What's the matter?
Murray, are you sure there's nobody there?
Well, just the cop standing on the corner on the next block.
There is somebody there.
Nah.
Can't you hear them? No. Keep walking and listen. There. Don't you hear the footsteps?
Just ours.
No. I mean the ones behind mine. Just a split second after every step I take. Behind me. Following.
You're nuts.
Can't you hear them?
There's nothing there. Nobody. Look. Come on, I'll prove it to you. Look back. You see, there's enough light snow on the ground so you can see our footsteps. 2 sets. That's all.
Don't you see? That's why she, whatever it is so clever. It puts its feet right on top of mine. Every step I take.
Jim, you're talking like a crazy man. Now, come on.
I can't. I'm afraid it'll start following me
We're only
again.
a block from the restaurant. What you need is a drink. Come on, let's go, Jim. You feeling better now?
I don't know, Murray.
Do you feel like talking about it some more?
Why not? That's all I think these days.
Have you had this thing long?
No, it started about a week ago. Right after I busted Jane Gould with that suit for a broken contract.
The same day you sold the movie deal right out from under Lyle Green.
What are you getting at?
Nothing. Just, I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of conscience thing.
Don't give me that. That Gould babe had it coming to her. It wasn't my fault. And after all the times Lyle fell on his face because he couldn't stay away from the bottle, why shouldn't I sell him short for once?
Sure. That's pressure, that's all. Gets to all of us. Maybe you ought to try a shrink.
The day you find me on a psychiatrist's couch. Come on, let's get the check and get me out of here.
You better take a cab home.
Don't worry. Door to door. Hey, waiter. Hey, cabbie, what's the trouble?
Lousy, no-good mechanics. I told him that battery had a bad cell.
You mean your engines?
The way it looks, Mac.
Well, then get me another cab.
This time of night, this neighborhood? What's the worry, Jack? You're only 3 blocks away from your house. Ain't much of a walk.
No, I don't want to walk. Not alone. You come with me.
Mister, I got enough troubles. I got to get on the phone and get hauled out of here myself.
No. Just let me get home. Get home. Stay away from me. Leave me alone. What do you want? What do you want? Leave me alone. All right, if you won't. Who are you? Who are you?
Jim, what is it?
It's following me again.
Jim, there's nobody there. You're home. You're safe. There's nothing there, darling. You're doing this to yourself.
A man, haunted by a ghost who sneaks his footprints into those of the man he follows. Not a very nice man, true, but the experience he is going through is thoroughly unnice also. Can he shake this specter from his heels, or is he doomed forever to be chased by some malignant fury created out of his past, or by some supernatural whim? We'll return to Jim Beecher shortly with Act 2. Quote from the Random House Dictionary: obsession, the domination of one's feelings or thoughts by a persistent idea, desire, or image. Certainly that describes Jim Beecher. But why the sudden obsession? It seems quite apparent that he is a heel. Why should conscience suddenly catch up with him? And which of the trail of human beings he has callously left broken and cast aside in his past should suddenly decide to catch up with him? Could it even perhaps be his own wife?
What? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, stop it.
What was that? Alarm? What time?
Oh, the time doesn't matter. You need rest. Don't wake up, Jim.
I'm awake now. Can't go back. Sleep.
Of course you can. Here, darling. I'll hold you in my arms. Now, just relax.
But Louise, don't treat me like a baby.
You're the only one I ever had.
Hey, let's not sing that old song again. You and me, we just weren't made for kids.
You. Speak for yourself, Jim.
Okay. So I'm sorry if I cheated you out of something you wanted. But what kind of life could we have made with kids?
What kind of life have we made without them?
You know what I mean. I spend 24 hours a day half the time with all of them. All shapes and sizes. Aging beauty queens, half-baked guitar twangers, and worst of all, the overdeveloped brats you can't control without putting the screws on their parents to hack them into line.
It's not much of a life, Jim. Why do you need it?
What am I, love? Except what I make other people. It's what I need to live, to breathe.
And all you ever needed from me was my money.
8 o'clock in the morning. Good time to be honest. All I needed was a start. The rest I could prove, and I have.
Of course you have. You've proved yourself. Money doesn't matter anymore. So why not take a rest? Let's just Go away together somewhere.
I can't.
You mean you don't want to? With me?
It isn't that, Lou. All my life, I've had this rocket up my tail. Since it isn't going to be me who shakes the world, I got to find that superstar, the one who tops the field, that nobody can forget. Once I do that, maybe I can turn off the steam, relax.
Oh, Jim, if only you didn't have to prove something.
It's funny. It's funny. I never really knew I felt that way. I honestly still don't. I mean, all the way. It's this other thing that's happened to me that's got me really shook. Put your arms around me, Lou.
Why do you even have to ask? If you'd only give me a chance to love you.
I need someone to love me. Murray made that clear. I don't have many on my side, if any.
On your side for what?
To stand between me and what follows me. Whoever, whatever it is. Here, for this moment, I'm safe. But not for long. The minute I get on my feet, the steps will be back on my trail. What am I going to do?
See Dr. Braun, please.
That old poop.
You should know how he helped me.
He conned you.
There was a time I was ready to kill myself, Jim. Because I knew you neither loved me or needed me anymore. And if it hadn't been for Dr. Braun, you'd be a free man now, a widower, if you like that term better.
You were ready to kill yourself?
Without you, Jim, I'm nothing. I just wouldn't want to be.
Well, how did he stop you?
Well, it's between him and me. Try him.
Maybe. The way it's going, I have nothing to lose. But what dogs my heels, I don't think any shrink is going to cure. And what I used to hear just when I was alone, Dr. Braun, I now hear with other people along.
They do not hear the footsteps.
No.
That's simple. Doesn't it suggest to you that there are no steps at all, except in the mind? Your mind, Mr. Beecher.
They're not imaginary. I hear them.
Of course. They're very real to you. They exist. But they are not so important.
What do you mean?
What is important is, why does someone want to follow you? Not just follow, but exactly in your footsteps.
That's what you're supposed to find out for me.
Oh, no, Mr. Beecher. That's what you have to find out for yourself. You're the only one who knows who or what it is.
I already told you I don't.
That's because it's buried too deep in your subconscious. Or because it's something you're hiding from yourself.
Now, how could I hide it from myself?
Very easily, Mr. Beecher. We all hide things from ourselves. Sometimes knowingly, sometimes without being aware that we're doing it.
Why?
Fear, shame, those are the simplest and most common reasons. Who are you afraid of?
Nobody.
I doubt that. We're all afraid of someone in our lives, or have been at one time. Your father?
That fool? He was a nothing, a nebbish. I never knew him that well anyways. He died when I was around 12.
Your mother?
No, certainly not my mother. She wasn't much either. She cleaned office buildings for a living. And she would have been a lush if she could have afforded it.
Brothers, sisters, any other relations?
Nah, nobody. It was just us.
What about your wife?
You should know about her better than me. Or maybe she thinks I'm afraid of her. Huh?
What Mrs. Beecher thinks, or has told me she thinks, is her business and her business alone. I'm asking you, are you afraid of her?
Louise? Why should I be?
She's a very rich woman.
So?
It's possible you might fear losing her.
Listen, I don't need Louise anymore. I make plenty of money for myself.
But you might have feared her once.
Why?
Because you did marry her for her money, didn't you? Or maybe it wasn't fear. Perhaps it was shame.
This is all a waste of time. I don't know why I let Lou talk me into coming here.
Of course you do. Because you need help.
But not from you.
Your hour isn't up. Don't you want to use it?
What's the point? What can you do for me? What can anyone do?
I'll have to be frank and say I don't know. But I can say the things I do know. I checked with your medical doctor and your health is fine. No vascular problems. Blood pressure normal for a man of your age.
You don't suffer from hypertension, which in your business is a minor miracle. Your hearing is perfect. There is no possibility that these footsteps you hear are some physical echo. They are totally, I have to conclude, from one of two fields.
What two fields?
One, they are supernatural.
Ah, come on. Let's cut out that nonsense. What's number two, like I even have to ask?
Then don't.
Psychiatric. I'm going nuts, right?
Yes, no, yes.
You want to translate that?
Yes, you are right. No, you are not going nuts, or don't have to. And yes, of course, your problem is psychiatric.
How do we cure it?
We meet, we dig, and somehow, somewhere, we find out who is your mysterious follower.
Then what?
We hope that he, she, it will leave you alone.
Can you guarantee it?
No. I think you're ashamed of something, and you won't admit it, even to yourself.
Baloney, Doctor. You're talking to the toughest agent in show business. It builds a thick skin. The things I've done don't bother me any. That's the game, and I play it all the way. I will take one piece of advice from you out of this expensive hour, though. I'll cure myself. To hell with whatever it is I think I'm hearing. I'll just shut my ears to it, and it'll go away. Here. Don't bother to send me a bill. Cash on the barrelhead. I'm paying you and going back to where I should have stood. On my own. I'll fight my own battle.
Murray, I'm sorry to drag you over here, but I was afraid to come to the office in case Jim might see me.
That's all right, Louise. If I don't have time for old friends.
You are a friend, Murray. Still.
I wouldn't think you'd have to ask.
Oh, I didn't mean me. I meant Jim.
Well, I'm a creature of habit, Louise. A kind of human leopard. I don't change.
You're a kind man. You're the best man I know.
Well, I was 20 years ago.
You should have been standing next to me if I'd had any sense. But I lost my head over Jim.
I know the feeling.
He was so handsome, so charming then. I'm sorry, Murray. I walked out on you.
So am I.
And you never married.
I lost more than my head to you, Louise. There's never been anyone else for me.
With Jim, almost since the beginning. It's always been everyone else but me.
But you still love him.
I love what he was, what he should have been, might have been. But I keep on hoping he still could be.
Old habits die hard. I guess that's why I've stuck with him, too. And lately, I've had a crazy notion that he was, I don't know the word, maybe softening up a bit.
You noticed that, too. Then I wasn't wrong. Oh, Murray, why did this other awful thing turn up? I mean, what do you suppose it is?
Search me.
He's done something that went against his conscience, but what? I know how hard and even vicious Jim can be. I'm not making excuses for him, but no matter how I feel about him now, I just can't sit by and watch a man go mad.
I know, Louise. I want to help him, too. I always want to help a friend. In this case, you, a lot more than Jim.
I was the fool. I shouldn't still be making you pay for it. But I can't turn my back on someone I've lived with 20 years. Only, see, he won't let me help. Will you try?
If you asked me for the moon in a teacup, if I can reach Jim, I'll try. I'll try to find out what's got him by the throat.
I don't hear them. I don't hear anything. I'm walking instead of riding to prove it. These footsteps don't mean anything. They're just in my mind. A kind of echo. Don't turn around. Don't turn around. There's nothing there. You've looked before, and there's nothing. Nothing. Except I've got to. Just one look. Just one. Oh, Lord. No. There is something there. It's... Oh, God forgive me. No. No. No.
follower has become more than just the sound and feel of footsteps right on Jim Beecher's heels. It has become something to be seen. At least a shadow. But a shadow of what? Who? And if he is driven far enough, will he destroy it? Can he destroy it? I'll return shortly with Act 3. On a shadowed and deserted street, Jim Beecher has been unable to shut out the sound of whoever or whatever stalks him. And turning, has, for the first time, seen his pursuer. Seen, at least been conscious enough of a presence there to break in wild panic and run toward a well-lighted boulevard.
Hey, look out, you crazy. Hey, hold it there. Hold up there. Oh, Lord, no. All right, everybody, stand back. Make room. Give the guy a chance to breathe. Hey, you, get over to that booth there and get an ambulance. Dial 911.
What's going on? Where am I?
You're in a hospital, mister. You ran in front of a car.
Am I hurt badly?
I don't think so. You want me to call anyone?
Yeah. Call Mr. Murray Schneider. His number is, let me think. His number is...
Are you sure you're okay, Jim?
Yeah. A couple of bruises and some minor scratches. Hey, just get me out of here before they dump me in the loony ward.
Okay, don't worry. I'll take you right home.
No. Murray, just get me to your place.
Huh?
Yeah, I've got to talk to you. I know now who's been following me and why. And I need your help more than I ever needed it in my life.
And there's nothing to worry about, Louise. I have him with me. Just a few scratches and bruises.
Why didn't you bring him home?
He said he wanted to talk to me first.
And he didn't even want to call me.
But he says he knows who's been following him, or who he thinks is. He wanted my help.
But not mine.
Louise, what can I say?
Nothing, Murray. I just hope he's come to his senses. It'll make two of us.
What does that mean?
I want Jim to get well, to find himself again, to have no problems, because...
Yes, what?
Because I finally made up my mind. Jim and me. It's all finished. I just can't take him anymore.
I didn't mean to keep you waiting so long, Jim. I told her you were okay and that you were with me.
Fine. I didn't want her to worry because I was late.
That's a new wrinkle. Never worried you before.
You don't have to rub it in. A first-class heel. 30 years experience. And I don't think I could change now if I wanted to. I've cheated, skimmed, taken money under the table, made actors, or broke them without any feeling. Except for the rustle of the good long green under my fingers and stashed away in Swiss and Caribbean banks. Maybe it's all catching up with me. And maybe I deserve it. That doctor, he stirred up the old memories. I know who's following me, haunting me, blaming me, and wishing me as this she is. And at last, I'm facing the fact she has a right to.
Jim, look, maybe a drink.
No. Let me get this off my chest once and for all. It was before I met you, Murray. Nearly 30 years ago. And I was some different kind of guy. Like I was working for Harmon and Sells, the big agency that went broke.
Yeah, I remember them.
Yeah. I was mainly a gopher. But I did some minor casting for the summer circuits. And one day, this little girl named Christy Meadows walked in. And I broke my tail to get her a booking with a stock company as resident ingenue. She was good. I mean, really good. And she was loaded.
With talent?
No, I mean with dough. Her father was president of an oil company, and money was beans to him. Christy never knew it, but he laid one solid grand on me under the table in 50s to make sure his little old gal got her chance. I had to laugh because she didn't need his help. Didn't even know he was offering it. But I decided right then and there I could use his help. More than that, his daughter. I used to go down weekends to the theater where she was playing. And not only for her money and the future I thought it could buy me. There was a lot more to it than that. A lot more that it didn't take me long to tell her.
I declare, from all the stories I ever heard about New York, I didn't expect ever to find an agent that would give me such personal service.
You can knock it off, Christy. You know I'm not down here as an agent.
I certainly hope not.
I love you, Christy.
I thought you'd never say it.
Oh, darling. Darling, what a life we're going to have.
Oh, such a long, lovely future.
Yeah, if your dad sees it that way. I'm not much of a catch. I don't make much money.
Oh, who cares about money? We'll make it.
Well, her father didn't take to the idea of me as a son-in-law. Christy had a little apartment in New York. And even though I had my own place, we were living together. I don't know how he found out. But one night, poor Christy had to lay the ultimatum on me.
Oh, he's just as stubborn as an old mule. And he means it.
You mean if we wanted to get married, he'd cut you out of his will?
He already has.
But we're not married yet.
No, Jim. But we sure better had going to be.
Why?
Well, 'cause I just haven't been as careful as maybe I should have been.
What?
I went to the doctor, Jim. There's just no kind of question. I'm to have your baby.
Look, it isn't too late. We could do something to stop it.
That's just what my daddy wanted to do. I didn't think to hear it from you.
But I haven't any money, Christy. I couldn't even support you, let alone a kid.
But we could make out somehow. If you really loved me, do you?
Well, of course I do, hon. Christy, we've got to use our heads. We can't cut it together with the money I make. Even with you working, too, and you won't be able to do that for long. I can't start out that way.
What do you mean, start out that way?
I got plans, baby. 1,000,000 plans, but I need some backing to get them going.
Jim, are you trying to tell me that you're not planning on marrying me?
Don't you see it? It's different now. I mean, somehow I'll manage so we can get rid of the kid, but
because I'm not a Texas oil heiress, you're going to walk out on me.
You've told me your father would never go for me as your husband.
But I do. I love you, Jim. Don't you love me?
Sure I do, Christy, but we got to be practical.
Practical? Jim Beecher, you're my whole life. And if I can't have you, I don't even want to live.
Oh, don't be a silly child.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. If you walk out on me, I'm going to kill myself. I swear it. I promise you.
Come on, Christy. Let's cut out the corny dramatics. Nobody kills themselves for love. Not at our age, and particularly a girl whose father owns half of Texas.
I don't even want a corner of Texas. I want you. I am not going to live without you.
Come on. Let's cut out the melodrama.
It isn't melodrama. It's just God's honest truth.
Damn, this isn't a scene in a play. Will you forget you're an actress and stop the dramatics? Okay. I'll bring you to your senses. Here.
What's that?
Sleeping pills. Enough to make you shuffle off the mortal coil. Just as effective as Juliet's fatal draft.
What are you doing with those? Where'd you get...
Yeah, the big boss has them in carloads. All the kooks we handle need uppers, downers, you name it. And we hand these out carefully. But just so you wake up and grow up, I'm leaving you enough to make the final exit.
No. Jim, don't walk out on me.
Look, I'm a working stiff. I'm this evening's gopher for one of our lousier comics who's making his big comeback, at some forgotten joint on the island. I'll be lucky if I get there in time to go for his first double martini of the evening.
You can't leave me like this, Jim. We got to talk.
No more talking. We're through, Christy. Best way is to break clean. You'll thank me for it someday. So long.
But, what about these?
The pills. Just to open your eyes to life the way it's lived. Don't worry, you'll end up flushing them down the toilet. Or one by one, they'll give you a month of nice, soothing sleep. I'll set you up with a doctor for the abortion and let you know where or when. Of course, I'm cutting it short. It didn't happen that fast or that simply. But I did leave the pills. What did I want, Murray? Was I really trying to help her grow up? Or was I really praying for her to take them and solve the whole mess for me simply? No way they could be traced. Everything tied up in a neat bundle and thrown out with the garbage.
You want me to answer that question?
It doesn't really matter anymore.
She took the pills.
Sure.
So you as good as murdered that girl?
Yeah.
No wonder she's come back to haunt you.
Well, she won't anymore. She's proved her point. She doesn't need to.
Why?
Because I finally know what a heel I am. And I'm through. Murray, I'm giving up the agency. I'm going to try to go back to what I was. Try to make it up to Louise. You're looking at a 10% louse who's looking for 100% religion.
I'm sorry, Jim. It's just too late for us. I don't know what your great awakening is exactly. I don't even want to. But I know what mine is. I married the wrong man. As soon as I get a divorce, I'm going to marry the right one.
Please, Lou, give me one more chance. Help me, Louise. I want to be what I was.
Oh, it's too late. I've had all I can take. I just can't find my way back any more than you can. Jim, where are you going?
Out. Just to walk. To be alone.
This time of night? What about the follower?
I know now who that was. She won't follow me anymore. Finding out shamed me enough to make me want to find out not what I am, but who I was. How did I throw it all away? Why? Or what? At least I know enough now, Christy, to say I'm sorry. To tell you how wrong I was. To thank you for not haunting me anymore with my footsteps. Back. Why? Christy, what do you want now? Why are you still stalking me?
Not Christy, Jim. She loved you too much to hurt or hate you.
Then who?
Stop. And turn around.
But there's never anything to... Oh, dear God. It's you. Me. Just as I was 25 years ago. Why do you follow me?
I didn't. Till you asked me to.
Yeah, now I see it. I needed forgiveness. To wash out what I've been. To go back. Back to what I was when I was you.
Is that what you want?
Yes. Help me. Help me.
You need no help. The choice is yours. If you want to be me again, you can make it this moment.
I do.
Then your wish is granted. Back to the moment when you turned your back on Christy.
All right. That isn't fair. I'm dying.
Of course. You killed yourself when you killed her. Christy. The real Jim Beecher has been ever since.
It must have been a heart attack, Lou. I don't think he ever knew what hit him.
I should feel more. But I wasted all my love for him. I only hope I have some left for you, Murray.
I have enough for both of us. And Jim's at peace. There's no one to follow him anymore.
A fascinating story of a complete and absolute heel whose conscience caught up with him. Conscience, or was it retribution? You can decide that for yourselves. Just as you can decide whether or not the follower ever existed in anything but the echoing labyrinths of the mind. I'll be back shortly. For this night, at least, we can all go to bed less afraid of the shadows that peer across our shoulders, the nameless, shivery things that sometimes haunt our dreams, and at least not fear that stomach-chilling terror of a step that sounds like a follower. We can all be like Satchel Paige and say, don't ever look behind. Something could be following you, and it might catch up. Our cast included Jerry Orbach, Carol Teitel, Nat Polan, and Jackson Beck. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
And now, Mystery Theater.
Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. And, as you may suspect, I have a tale to tell. A tale full of sound and terror and signifying... Well, I'll have to leave that to you. And I also ask your indulgence when I personalize this strange riddle, because this story was brought directly to me. Ever since I've been your host on this series, I have the feeling that you expect me to be an expert on the macabre. But I must confess to a sense of surprise when I was buttonholed by a young man the other day who said, "Excuse me, Mr. Marshall, but I have a coffin that I'm sure will interest you."
You cannot frighten me. I am not leaving this graveyard until I get to the bottom of this.
I warn you, your persistence will be your destruction.
I still trust in the Lord. Where's that music coming from?
From beyond the grave.
Is it Judgment Day?
No.
Then you talk nonsense. That will rise. The Lord will summon his elect to meet him in the clouds. But until that day, that remain buried.
Our mystery drama, A Coffin for the Devil, was especially adapted for the Mystery Theater by Murray Burnett and stars Keir Dullea. What do you do when a perfect stranger tells you he has a coffin which might interest you? My first instinct was to tell a young man that I wasn't in the market for coffins. But he quickly explained that he wasn't a salesman, but an avid listener to our series, and that he had a macabre story of a strange coffin that had been in his family for generations. I was intrigued. So the next night I found myself in his old suburban house, drinking coffee with his wife Cora and his friend Professor Gerald Barker, and looking at a large wooden box which appeared to me to be a case for a bass fiddle.
This box, although you may not believe it, Mr. Marshall, is a coffin. And this letter, which my wife Cora found in the attic, explains how it came in our family and also how it happens that I'm not today a mortician. It was written by my great-grandfather, whose name was also William Spindles. And the letter begins, I, William Spindles, swear this to be a true and honest account of the strange happenings that befell me when I was employed by Edward Rogers, the undertaker, in the year 1851. The month was December, and Mr. Rogers and his good wife, paying pre-Christmas visits, had left me in charge of the shop. It was a cold night and blowing hard, but my good friend Richard Clay and I were snug enough with a big fire going in the stove.
Only for you, William Spindles, would I spend a stormy night like this sitting in an undertaker's parlor.
Ah, come on now, Dick. You've kept me company often enough to know that there's no harm in corpses.
Well, it's not the corpses that worry me. It's their spirits that may be around.
There's no such thing as spirits. Mr. Rogers says that there's no harm in it. Harm is in people's minds.
Oh, maybe. What's that?
Someone's at the door. Come in.
Oh, I don't like this.
I'll see who it is. Come in, sir. Come in. You'll catch your death of cold standing out there.
I'm sorry to disturb you on a night like this, but my need is urgent. I require a coffin.
Yes, sir. Did you have a particular type in mind?
Very particular. I know exactly what I need.
Well, we have a complete stock in the next room. Now, if you'll follow me...
No need. You won't have it in stock.
We carry the most complete line in the state.
That's why I have come here.
Well, thank you. Now, if you'll tell me who the coffin is for, I'll be able to help you better.
For me.
For you? You mean it's for your own personal use?
Exactly.
I can see you're going to be busy, Bill, so I'll run along.
Oh, no need to leave, Dick. This gentleman will have to come back tomorrow and see Mr. Rogers, so
I cannot return.
Well, Mr. Rogers is the proprietor, and I honestly believe you'll be better served if you'll wait for him.
I can draw you the way the coffin must be. Here's $50. Will that cover it?
But
goodbye, Bill. I really must leave. Amy's expecting me.
Is the $50 enough?
It's not the money I was thinking of. It's the special requirements you mentioned. I'm not sure I can handle them.
I said I'd draw it. Do you have paper?
I guess so. Here's a pencil.
I have my own. Now, the shape must be exactly like this. Just so.
But that doesn't look like a coffin at all. It's more like the case for a musical instrument.
I know my needs.
Oh, never in my life have I seen or heard of a coffin such as you ask for.
It must be exactly the way I've drawn it.
Very well.
Now, it must also have lids and hinges.
Hinges?
Hinges. You see them? Here, on the drawing.
Yes, but you...
And a lock on the inside.
The inside?
And a good quality lock. Secure. Nothing shoddy, you understand?
I believe I do.
Good. Now, if you have a tape measure, I want you to measure me around.
But why? I mean, the drawing is... It's unusual. It's very clear.
I want to make sure that you leave enough room for my arms.
I really don't know how I'm going to explain this to Mr. Rogers.
Show him the drawing. Now, take my measurements.
Yes, sir. All right, now leave enough room for your arms.
Now, make sure that this is ready by Friday.
But that's the day after tomorrow.
I must have it. I'm sorry to be so particular, but I've been married before. And this time, I want to have it my own way.
Bill! Bill! Are you in there?
Just a minute. I'm opening the door. Lucy! What are you doing here?
Are you all right? Is he still here?
What are you talking about?
Dick told me about that strange man who came here. Dick was really scared. He said the man wanted to order his own coffin.
That's right, but I'm sure it was some kind of practical joke.
Well, I don't care what it was. I want you to find another job. I hate the idea of your being an undertaker.
Lucy, we've been through this before, and this job is no different than any other except in people's minds.
I'm sorry, Bill. I'm sorry. I was just so frightened. All the way over here, I was just worried about you and scared, but I came anyway, and now... Oh, Bill, I don't think it's going to work.
Oh, I'd like to punch Dick Clay right in the nose for frightening you like that.
Don't blame Dick. It's not his fault.
If he hadn't scared you, you wouldn't have...
Yes, I would. Maybe I wouldn't have come here tonight, but I hate what you're doing. I hate it.
I know, honey. What do you want me to do?
Quit.
And do what?
Oh, I don't care.
What will we live on?
Well, you'll find another job.
Nowhere near as much money.
I don't care about the money. Bill, can't you understand? I don't want hands touching me that have been touching death all day.
All right, Lucy. I'll speak to Mr. Rogers about leaving.
Good morning, Bill. Good morning. Now, what's all this about some excitement you had here last night?
Good morning, Mr. Rogers. I guess Dick Clay has been busy gossiping again.
Well, I don't know whether it came from Dick or not, but I heard it from the barber. Some ridiculous claptrap about a walking cadaver ordering its own coffin.
Well, sir, what happened was unusual.
How so?
Take a look at this.
Hmm?
This is a drawing made by the gentleman who ordered this coffin.
Remarkable. Looks something like a carrying case for the bass fiddle.
Yes, sir. It looks that way to me also. It must be ready tomorrow evening.
You're worried about something, aren't you, Bill?
Yes, sir.
Something to do with this special order?
I suppose so, in a way. Mr. Rogers, I'm sorry to tell you that I'm going to have to leave here.
What? You mean because of last night?
Only partially. It's really because of Lucy.
Oh... I suppose she's upset about the idea of marrying a mortician.
More than upset. She practically gave me a choice. Either this job or her.
I wouldn't worry about that if I were you, Bill.
You're not me, and you're not engaged to Lucy.
I'm sorry, Bill. It's just that I've been there before. I had the same problem with Mrs. Rogers before we got married.
Well, what did you do?
Before I answer that, how do you feel about the business? I mean, would you stay on if Lucy would marry you?
I think so.
Bill, you know I have no son. No one to carry on. I've never said it, but I think you know how I feel about you and what hopes I have that you might be the one to carry on. Until today, I thought you felt the same way.
I don't think I can change Lucy's mind.
Of course you can't.
But you just said that...
You can't. But Mrs. Rogers can. Now, ask Lucy to talk with her, woman to woman. That's your best bet. My wife knows all the problems, and she has all the answers.
I never thought of that. All the same, I wish you'd been here last night. It was... Well, the only word I can use to describe what happened is weird.
Because he ordered a coffin for himself?
That, plus the way he came in, and then the strange shape he insisted on. But most of all, because he appeared to be driven. Almost as if he were compelled to do what he was doing.
What he felt or didn't feel isn't important, Bill. What matters is whether you've changed the way you think about death.
I don't follow you.
You have to see dying for what it is, Bill. Life's ultimate destination. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's just an inescapable fact. In the course of my life, I've met a lot of people, and I'm good at judging them. And up until now, I've thought of you as a no-nonsense, feet-on-the-ground, level-headed young man.
But, sir, you didn't see this man. You didn't hear the terrible desperation he had in his voice.
I've seen and heard almost everything since I started some 18 years ago. This poor fellow who ordered his coffin from you last night was obviously deranged. No question about it. Deranged.
I hope you're right, sir.
Of course I'm right. What other conclusion can there be?
The one I can't get out of my head. He told me he'd been buried once before. And this time he means to have it his own way.
Oh, very good. Very good indeed.
You find that amusing?
Now I understand everything. That coffin he ordered is nothing but a big fiddle case. A double bass box. And he must be a musician. They're the very devil for playing practical jokes. Don't you see? This is nothing but a practical joke.
A joke on whom, sir?
How should I know? Some fellow musician.
No, I'm sorry, sir. I just can't believe that.
Why not?
Why wouldn't he have told me so? Why would he try to scare the daylights out of me and then pay $50? 50 whole dollars besides.
Ah, well. I expect we'll have the answer to that tomorrow evening when he comes to get his coffin. That is, if he comes at all.
Oh, he'll be here. I'm sure of that. I just pray that we won't be sorry when he comes.
When the reading stopped, I looked at the faces in that sane and sensible 20th century living room. Spindle's wife, Cora, was wide-eyed. Professor Barker's lips were pursed and his eyes were skeptical. My eyes were drawn automatically to the subject of the letter. The large, strangely shaped coffin that stood in the corner of the living room, and I could understand the fear that had gripped that 19th century William Spindles. I'll be back shortly with Act 2. I suppose to the three inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, one could add the right of a man to order his own handmade coffin. Most of us, I believe, would find the thought distasteful, but the feeling that prevailed among us in the living room of William Spindles was one of curiosity. We were all anxious for him to continue reading the letter from his great-great-grandfather.
I must confess that my work suffered during that day. My thoughts were not on what I was doing, but on what the evening would bring, and what Mr. Rogers would make of the stranger when he came to call for his coffin. The day passed somehow.
Bill, when did this customer of yours say he'd be back?
Early in the evening.
We'll give him another half hour, and then we'll lock up.
That won't help if he wants to pick it up.
What does that mean, young man?
Someone tampered with the coffin, and we don't know who.
We only have Sam's word that the coffin was tampered with.
But he's our best workman.
Well, like everyone else around here, I'm sure he's been infected with the idea that there's something strange about this order for a coffin in the shape of a bass fiddle. At last, he's arrived.
Those raps didn't come from the door?
Nonsense. Of course they did. It's cold out there. He wants to come in.
I'll prove it to you. I'll open the door.
No need. He's letting himself in.
Sir? Sir, there's no one at the door.
Get hold of yourself, Bill. Must have been a draft that blew the door open. I'll close it myself.
Good evening, Mr. Rogers. Is my order ready?
Good evening, sir. Come in, come in. The box you ordered is ready.
Thank you.
My dear sir, you really should wear a greatcoat and a muffler in this bitter weather. You'll catch cold.
Where's my coffin? Ah, that's it, in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Satisfactory? Very satisfactory. Is there a good, secure lock on the inside?
You may open the lid and see for yourself. That way you can also test the hinges.
The make of the lock is unknown to me. Is it a good one?
We never have had a single complaint about any of our coffins.
So I'd heard.
Now then, where would you like it sent?
I'll take it with me.
My dear sir, it's much too heavy for one man to carry.
I'll manage.
Perhaps you have a horse and cart outside. We can help you get it on.
That won't be necessary.
May I have your name?
My name is of no importance.
Sir, I'm a reputable undertaker. I must keep my records in order.
Any name you choose will do.
Come now, sir. I see through your little joke, and I don't disapprove, but you must...
Joke? Mr. Rogers, if there's any joke being played here, it's on me. So, I'll take my coffin and be on my way.
But, sir, you can't just walk out of here with a...
Thanks to you for your efforts, and I wish you gentlemen good night's sleep.
Sir, come back.
Let him go. For the love of heaven. Let him go, Mr. Rogers. He lifted that box as if it were as light as a feather.
Get your coat.
What for?
To follow him, Bill. Couldn't you see the man is ill?
We're the ones who are going to be ill if we follow him.
Stop babbling and get into your coat.
All right, I'll go with you. I don't want you following that spirit alone, but I tell you, he's not mortal.
He is, and he's sick, mentally ill. Hurry.
How far do we follow him?
As far as he goes.
No, sir, I won't, because I believe his destination is hell.
There he goes. Around the corner, down Green Tree Lane.
Oh, yeah, I see him.
Where can he be heading? There are no houses after a block of Green Tree Lane.
But there's the cemetery.
Didn't I tell you he was deranged? The cemetery gate's locked.
Locks never bothered spirits.
Then he's no spirit. Didn't he ask for a lock on the coffin?
Oh, let him go, Mr. Rogers, please.
Hurry up before we lose him.
Mr. Rogers, if we do catch up to him, what in heaven's name do you want of him?
Find out who he is, where he lives, and get him safely home. Then I shall call a doctor to attend him.
There he goes, heading directly for the cemetery gate.
Confound it. What's happened to the moon?
A cloud just passed in front of it.
No matter. Even if we can't see him, we shall catch up when he finds the gate locked.
Oh, here comes the moonlight, and here's the gate. Where did he go?
Well, he must have gone in.
Gate's locked.
Well, I have my key.
You don't intend to go in, do you?
Of course. Come on.
No, sir.
There. Isn't that our man? Moving among the trees over there near the Addison Mausoleum?
Mr. Rogers, I've had enough of this. I'm going home.
And allow that poor soul to do himself some kind of mischief?
Sir, that poor soul, as you call him, is a person I want nothing to do with. I don't know whether he's man, ghost, or devil, but whatever he is, and whatever his business is in the cemetery, I want no part of it.
Bill, when a man's deceased, I've never seen a man or woman come to life again. I'm a God-fearing man, and I go by the Bible. Doesn't the good book say dust to dust?
The Bible says a lot of things, but I remember no mention of men who could lift a heavy coffin as if it were a pillow and pass through locked gates without leaving a sound, to say nothing of a man ordering his own coffin.
Very well. Very well, Bill. You can stay or leave. I'm going after him.
I beg of you.
Close the gate.
I beg you, Mr. Rogers, leave this be and come home with me.
Close the gate and make sure it's locked.
At this point, Bill Spindles stopped reading and put down the letter. My reaction was shared by his wife, Cora, who almost screamed at him.
Don't tell me the letter stops there, and we're not going to find out what happened.
The reason I stopped is because the story my great-grandfather was telling up to now was his. But it now changes. At this point, he is writing not what he saw, but what he heard, as he puts it in the letter. Perhaps I was a coward, but I allowed Mr. Rogers to go on into the graveyard alone while I hurried home. So I warn the reader of this letter. This portion of my tale is written here as it was told to me by Mr. Rogers.
The moon again had gone behind the clouds when young Spindles went hurrying off. But I thought I saw some light in or around the big Addison tomb. I started that way, and then I heard what seemed to be the voice of the man I was following, but it seemed to come from far off.
Too far. You have come too far on a useless journey, Edward Rogers. Turn back before it's too late.
Where are you, sir? Listen to me.
Thrice they tried, and thrice they died.
Where are you? What are you doing with your coffin?
Leave here, Edward Rogers. Your business with it is finished. You don't belong here.
And what do you do here?
I keep an age-old bargain.
With whom?
You must leave here. This place is dangerous for you.
But not for you?
Leave before it's too late.
The Lord will protect me. Now let me help you. Don't you understand? You're ill. You need help.
So be it, Edward Rogers. You want to join in a dance of death? The consequences will be on your head. Here, I show myself to you. Here I am. See if you can catch me.
It was then that I started after him. I could see him almost clearly. He seemed to be heading for the Addison tomb. He was carrying the coffin, and I was certain I could overtake him. But he kept dodging behind headstones. I turned and twisted after him. And then my foot caught. I lost my balance and fell, hitting my head against the tombstone.
Dick, wake up, man.
Well, Bill, what do you want?
Get dressed. You've got to come to the cemetery with me.
What? The cemetery? Are you out of your mind?
Mr. Rogers went in there after the man who ordered the coffin. He isn't home yet, and Mrs. Rogers is worried.
Then take her.
Come on, Dick. I'll be with you.
I wouldn't care if the whole town was with us. What time is it?
4:00. It will soon be light. Please, Dick, you must.
All right. I'll get dressed and I'll go with you, but we'll wait for the dawn.
But Mr. Rogers may be in trouble.
Bill, whatever has happened has happened. I'll go with you, but not until it's light.
Oh, my head. It hurts. Where am I?
Where you do not belong.
Oh. It's you. Where's your coffin?
Where it belongs.
Good. Come. I'll take you home.
You need more help than I do.
I'll be all right. I was fortunate. It was just a glancing blow.
I'll take you to the gate. See that you get there safely.
You've changed. Why are you now worried about me?
I admire your courage. You were concerned about me. Now I return the favor.
No. You tried to frighten me before.
For your own good. You're still in danger.
From whom?
From the damned.
Sir, I don't know who you are or where you're from, but I'll swear you're of this world. There are no such things as ghosts.
I know that's what you believe. I wish with all my heart that you were right.
What's that music? Do you hear it?
I do.
What is it? It doesn't belong here in a graveyard.
You're wrong. It's the only place it can be heard, and not by everyone. Come, the gate is this way.
No, I am not leaving until I get to the bottom of this.
I warn you, your persistence will be your destruction.
I still put my trust in the Lord. Where's that music coming from?
From beyond the grave.
Is it Judgment Day?
No.
Then you talk nonsense. That will rise. The Lord will summon his elect to meet him in the clouds. But until that day, they remain buried.
And quiet?
And quiet.
Oh, foolish man. I will not be able to protect you much longer. Go home now, while you can.
I will, if you'll first allow me to take you to your home.
Can't you understand? My home is here.
Tommy rot.
I must go. I have work to do. You've been warned. My conscience is clear.
As I turned my head to see where he went, I felt dizzy. The blow had evidently been more serious than I thought. When my head cleared, I could still hear the music, and I thought I saw a light. I walked toward the light. It seemed to come from the Addison tomb. As I approached, I could see that the door to the mausoleum was open. I was convinced that inside was the source of the music. It grew louder with every step I took. And then I found myself at the door to the tomb. And there, just inside, I saw the large coffin the stranger had ordered. The lid was wide open. But the moment I took one step inside, the lid slammed shut, and the music stopped. I thought the coffin had been empty, but I couldn't be sure. I walked over to it and bent down and listened. I heard the key turn in the lock, and I called out, "You mustn't lock yourself in. You mustn't." Please, open the coffin. He wouldn't listen, so I determined to get the coffin open. When suddenly, there was a flash of light and a loud explosion.
Bill, I can't see anyone in there. Mr. Rogers must have gone home.
Can't see the whole cemetery from outside. We'll have to go in.
The gate's locked.
I have a key.
Oh, look, do we really have to go on?
It's practically daylight. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Oh, I hear you, but I'm still shivering.
That's the cold. Come on.
Hey, you seem to know where you're going.
Oh, I shouldn't have left him. If any harm has befallen him, I'll never forgive myself.
Well, he shouldn't have been here at all.
The last I saw of Mr. Rogers, he was heading for the Addison tomb. I have a feeling that if we find him at all, that's where he'll be. There's the tomb now.
Oh, the door's open. Should it be?
We'll find out.
Wait. Suppose there's something in that tomb that waited for Mr. Rogers, and now it's waiting for us.
If you don't want to come in, you can wait here, but I'm going into that tomb.
All right, I'll come with you. Good Lord, there he is, lying across that coffin, and so still. Is he?
I don't know. But there's only one way to find out.
I can offer no explanation, but I can tell you that the words of a letter written more than 100 years ago had cast a spell over all of us. A spell that had transported us back to a small 19th century graveyard. I'll be back in a moment with the strange end to this strange tale. Like many time-worn sayings, the old adage, curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back, still contains more than a few grains of truth. Certainly all of us sitting in the William Spindle's living room that night were anxiously waiting for him to resume reading the letter from his great-great-grandfather. But he further whetted our curiosity by prefacing his reading with this explanation.
I think it's important to tell you that this next portion of the letter is an eyewitness account, not what was told to my ancestor, but what he experienced himself. So, if you're all ready, I'll continue. After Mr. Rogers told me what had happened to him that night in the cemetery, I was still undecided about leaving the undertaking business, although my dear Lucy was at me every day to give my notice. And then, one morning, Mr. Rogers called me to his office.
Sit down, Bill. I think we should have a talk.
Yes, Mr. Rogers?
My wife tells me that Lucy hasn't been to see her. Have you spoken again to Lucy about discussing your future here with Emily?
No, sir.
You still believe that our strange customer was a ghost?
Let's say I'm still undecided. What's that?
Probably someone who wants to see me. Come in.
Should I get the door?
Don't bother. I'll go.
Good morning, gentlemen.
It's you.
It is indeed I. And I'm not sure how long I'll be permitted to stay.
Long enough, I hope, to give me an explanation of your actions the other night.
That is why I'm here.
Good. Perhaps you'll start by telling me...
I come here, sir, at great personal risk. I ask you to believe me. I beg you to listen and keep an open mind.
I believe I'm a fair man.
Since you're a native of this town, you must know of the Addison family.
Of course. Old Thaddeus Addison owned the leather and dye plant.
He did. And do you remember a young man named Tom Addison, one of Thaddeus's 3 sons?
I never knew the young rascal. Everyone heard about him, of course. He was a ne'er-do-well who finally ran away.
That's what my father wanted everyone to believe.
Hold on. Are you trying to tell me you're Tom Addison?
My father wanted me to go into the factory. I couldn't abide the thought. In all modesty, I had a great talent for music, particularly the bass, a talent which my father felt was foolishness. All of our quarrels came because I wanted to practice my music, and my father thought it was a waste of time and money.
Then you are young Addison.
I am. And I am not. Not in the sense that you mean.
I suppose you can explain that.
The situation between my father and me became unbearable. He finally gave me an ultimatum. Either I'd go into the business, abandon my music, or he'd turn me out of the house. I really had no choice. I left.
Mm-hmm. And what brought you back?
The very same thing that took me away. Music. When my father disowned me, I wandered around the country trying to earn my living as a musician. It wasn't easy. One day, I found someone who valued my musicianship. I made a bargain with him.
Who was he?
He goes by many names. Take your choice. Satan, the devil, Beelzebub, or the Prince of Darkness.
Rubbish.
You believe in the Lord. Why do you find it so difficult to believe in the devil?
I'm a God-fearing man. The devil has no power over me.
Not unless you invade his realm, as you did the other night.
All I did the other night was my duty, as an undertaker and as a man.
How can I make you see the horrors that lie ahead of you if you will not listen? What will change your foolish obstinacy so that you can save yourself? Are you so insensible that if I tell you what I have suffered and am suffering, you'll still close your mind to what I say?
I promise to listen, and I will.
10 years ago, I was in Chicago, living in a cold and miserable garret, hungry, alone, and with no hope of employment. In order to get something to eat, I knew I'd have to pawn my fiddle. Just before venturing out, I wanted to play it one last time, when suddenly I thought I'd lost my mind, because not only was I hearing my own instrument, but it was joined by a full symphony, and he was there.
Satan?
And he offered me the fulfillment of a dream. I would never have to worry about money again, and I could concentrate on my music. It dazzled me, the prospect of a life I'd always hoped for.
And what did he ask in return? Your soul?
Nothing so dramatic. What seemed a simple, harmless request. All he asked is that I play for him whenever and wherever he should ask. I hesitated, but only for a moment. How I wish I had thought longer on it, but I didn't. I agreed. And now I'm his forever. A member of his orchestra of the...
And the letter closes as follows. That was the day I left the undertaking establishment of Edward Rogers. I have no way of knowing whether Mr. Rogers believed the story told by the man who claimed to be Tom Addison. I never saw nor heard from the stranger again, nor do I know whether Mr. Rogers did. Signed, William Spindles. Now, what do you make of that? I'll take the ladies first. Cora, as my wife, what do you think?
There's one thing I know, darling. I'm glad you're not an undertaker, because if you were, I wouldn't be your wife.
Ah, you feel the same way as my ancestors, girl. Lucy.
Emphatically.
Jerry, you're the scientist here.
Well, history isn't a science, thank heaven, but I do have some questions. First, how did the coffin come into your possession?
Well, that's simple. When Mr. Rogers died at the ripe old age of 89, he left a sizable bequest in his will to my great-grandfather with the proviso that we keep the coffin as a memento.
Why would he do that?
Now, that, Cora, is an excellent question. If he insisted that the coffin remain in your family as part of his bequest, I think he must have had a reason.
In other words, you don't believe that the stranger was a ghost?
Let's say I'm set against the idea of ghosts playing symphonic music in a graveyard at night.
Well, I believe he was the ghost of Tom Addison.
Well, how do you explain Rogers leaving the coffin to the Spindles family?
Simple. Rogers was probably hurt by Bill's refusal to stay in the business, and he wanted the coffin to remind him.
Sorry, darling, that won't work. If he was hurt, why also leave my ancestor a bundle? And believe me, it was a considerable sum.
Well, then why did he, Bill?
I'm stumped. It's too much for me.
I still don't believe in ghosts, and I think I can prove to you that this man who ordered the coffin was flesh and blood.
How?
Well, I'm going to have to do a little research. When did you say all these things happened? The date, I mean.
December 1851. Why?
Well, give me 2 days, and I'll let you know. Right? I have solved the mystery of our peculiarly shaped coffin.
Good. How?
I kept asking myself, why did this man go to all the trouble of ordering a coffin, which, to say the least, was strange, and also behave as if he wanted everyone to believe he was a ghost?
But have you forgotten Mr. Rogers' belief that he was crazy? Wouldn't that account for all his behavior?
Yes, that would, but I preferred to think of this fellow as a con man. You see? A really great con man who successfully conned your grandfather but had more difficulty with the undertaker.
Why?
Precisely. Why? Now, that's where this newspaper article comes in. Here, I made a copy at the library. Let me read it to you. The headline, Wells Fargo payroll stolen. Then it goes on. Yesterday, the largest robbery in the history of the Wells Fargo Company was successfully perpetrated by 3 masked men who boarded the westbound Lackawanna Limited, entered the baggage car, and made off with more than $40,000 in $10, $20, and $50 bills. So, it goes into more detail, but there you have it.
There you have it. You've lost me.
Now, don't you see? The robbers needed a safe place to hide the money.
And you think that they decided to use a coffin as a hiding place?
Remember, our man insisted on a strong lock on the inside.
That's true, but
that would be one way of making sure that no one opened this peculiar coffin by mistake and found a wad of 10s, 20s, and 50s that had been stolen from Wells Fargo.
But according to the letter, Mr. Rogers found the coffin in the cemetery. And it was open, and there was nothing in there.
That's right. Rogers followed the stranger right from the funeral parlor to the cemetery. He wouldn't have had time to stash the loot in there.
I think it's interesting, but rather far-fetched.
Is it? Look how everything fits. All that uproar in the cemetery. All the warnings to Rogers telling him to keep away. Why?
I'm sorry. You're so convinced your theory is right, you're not thinking straight. Once your man knows Rogers was going to interfere, he'd never have taken the chance of hiding anything there.
Well, he may have had no choice.
What do you mean?
The money may have already been there. Look, have you forgotten that your grandfather's letter said that the workmen believed the coffin had been tampered with?
Oh, Jerry, you're riding a hobby horse.
Oh.
You have a theory, and you're just going to see that everything fits. And you're not going to look at anything that doesn't.
Now, wait a minute. What have I left out?
Well, lots of things. Now, one. How in the world did our stranger lift this coffin and carry it off under his arm?
Perhaps he didn't.
You mean you think Bill's grandfather made that part up?
Well, let's leave that. Anything else?
Well, lots. What about everything that happened to Mr. Rogers in the cemetery? The music, the open coffin. What's your explanation for that?
Well, we know that Rogers fell down and hit his head.
Oh, come off it, Jer. You're not going to try to tell us that he imagined those things as a result of hitting his head.
Well, it's possible.
Maybe,
I don't believe it. The other explanation, which you refuse even to think about, Jerry, is that he was a ghost and that Mr. Rogers reported everything faithfully. That's the one I believe.
Even if I prove to you that this strange-looking coffin has plenty of room for some kind of secret compartment and there may be money in it?
Why don't we stop talking and see if you can prove what you think?
All right, good idea. Come on.
How do we go about finding a secret compartment?
Well, we'll try tapping and listen for a hollow sound.
Okay. Who wants to do the tapping?
Me, let me.
All right, go right ahead.
It all sounds the same.
You're too impatient. If there's a secret compartment, he'd make it hard to find.
Right. Dear. It's a great theory, Jer. I'm afraid it's just a theory.
Why don't you try down at the bottom where it's widest?
Okay.
There. Right there. Doesn't that sound different?
I think so. Go back there again, Cora.
That's it. Let's turn it upside down. Here. You have to let us do that, Cora. That's got it now. Now what?
Well, I think we should have opened the lid first.
Okay, let's open it.
All right, now, put your hand down in there, Bill. Feel around carefully. Around the joint in the wood. Yes. Do you feel anything?
Nothing. I can't.
You got it. Jerry was right. It's a secret compartment. Well, is there anything in there?
This.
Money. A $20 bill. Well, there must be more.
No, just the one bill. But wait. Here's a note.
Well, what does it say?
Wait a second. It's hard to read. Dear Bill, or descendants of William Spindles, you having found this secret hiding place should know by now that I was right when I insisted that there were no such things as ghosts. I was also right when I told you, Bill, that there was a fortune to be made in the undertaking business, as is proven by my bequest. God bless you and your family. Signed, Edward Rogers.
What do you do when you discover that the fortune you expected turns out to be a single $20 bill? Well, if you're William Spindles, you advance the idea that Edward Rogers had indeed found the Wells Fargo loot in the coffin and taken all of it except the one bill. Is there another explanation? I think so, and I'll be back with it in just a moment. For what it is worth, I present you with this thought. There never was any Wells Fargo money in the coffin to begin with. Edward Rogers had obviously been a man of strong beliefs, and he took this way of proving to Bill Spindles or his children that there are no such things as ghosts, and that there was money to be made in the undertaking business. Did the Spindles accept my explanation? I really don't know. How about you? Our cast included Keir DeLay, Marion Seldes, William Redfield, Peter Collins, and Nat Polan. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown.
WCCO Radio, Las Vegas for 3 days and 3 nights.
The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Welcome this time to the world of actuality, but a world more terrifying than any imaginary Gothic romance of witches, ghouls, and goblins. The world of the mind, through whose secret chambers wander shapes and specters whose drives can be as weird, as hair-raising as any ghost story. And the modern heroes who battle these forces of evil, who fight as bravely as any St. George against the dragons, are the psychiatrists. Male or female. Consider the case of Dr. Margaret Hunter.
Good night, Parksy. Oh, good night, Dr. Hunter. Now, don't be after going out the back way without the security guard. Oh, my car's only a short walk into the parking lot. So was poor Eileen. You know what happened to her? And even after that dirty scene had won. I know, but I'm not a nurse. Nor as young, and thank heaven, I haven't had any phone calls yet. While you've got whites on, and the sweet Lord knows you're pretty enough for any filthy-minded maniac like... Oh, Doctor, what drives a man to want to rape a woman? Oh, that would take more than an elementary course in psychiatry to define. But now you've got me nervous enough, Parksy. I'll have the guard show me to my car. Night.
Our mystery drama, The Disembodied Voice, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Ian Martin and stars Celeste Holm. It is sponsored in part by Contact, the 12-hour cold capsule, and Anheuser-Busch Incorporated, brewers of Budweiser. I'll be back shortly with Act One. Some beer drinkers have funny ideas about beer. They think beer improves with age, like wine. Well, find a brewmaster, though. You'll find a beer drinker who knows better. The Budweiser brewmaster says it all depends on how beer is aged. Just letting beer sit in lagering tanks makes it older, not necessarily better. That even goes for keeping a case around the house for a couple of months. But there is one kind of aging that's good for beer. The Budweiser kind. Beechwood aging. In this kind of aging, something happens. It lets all the flavor of the choicest hops and best barley malt that go into Budweiser get through to you. Sure, it takes more time and trouble to brew Budweiser that way, but brewing beer right does make a difference. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis. Looking for a few good men who want to learn good jobs. And today, a qualified man can choose the direction he wants to go in the Marine Corps. Choose the kind of skills he wants to learn, like computers, aircraft maintenance, or electronics, radio communications, food services, aviation technology. You name it, Marines do it. If you want to learn it, the Marines will teach you skills, responsibility, and leadership in any field you can handle. Remember, qualified men can choose their own directions in the Marine Corps. Skills to learn, careers to build in many directions. The Marines are looking for a few good men who want to choose their own direction, want to learn good jobs, want to be Marines. It was a dark, overclouded evening, and the parking lot was deserted and forbidding. But the security guard was reassuring and saw Dr. Hunter safely into her car. Feeling slightly foolish, she locked her doors from the inside and rode home uneventfully. After parking the car in the basement of her multi-room apartment house, she entered the elevator again, feeling a little foolish at the slight nervousness she felt in the empty automatic elevator. But the elevator took her straight to her floor, and she entered her apartment and closed the door with an unaccustomed feeling of relief and annoyance that the phone was ringing.
Hello? Yes? What did you say? Yes, I thought I heard you the first time. Who are you? You what? Well, really, if you're so desperate, it isn't a woman you need. It's a doctor. After that outburst, I'm quite sure you ought to see me, because I happen to be a psychiatrist, and you're a very sick... Hello? Hello? Well, Dr. Margaret Hunter, your hand is shaking. What's the matter with you? College? 3 years med school? 7 years residency in psychiatry? And suddenly you're nervous because a man says some, quote, dirty things, unquote, to you over the phone? You should be concerned with the patient and his problem, not yourself. At least this one didn't threaten to kill you after he'd had his way with you. Go to bed. You need some sleep. Yes? Oh, no, not you again. I'm not interested in any further suggestions. Believe me, I know variations you haven't even dreamed of. Hello? Oh, brother. If you knew just how much I'd like to make the same suggestion for you to do the same. Hello, service. Dr. Margaret Hunter. Intercept all calls and tell the hospital unless it's an urgent emergency, I don't even want to let them through. I'm bushed. I've got to get some sleep. Thanks, Judy. Good night. If we can sleep now anymore. Morning, Parksy. Still on duty? Oh, morning, Dr. Hunter. Mary Daly called in saying she would be a few minutes late, so I'm still covering. Oh, but you're in early. Yes, I didn't sleep too well. I got some anonymous John on the phone who kept me up most of the night with romantic notions and some others not quite so romantic. Well, now, didn't I tell you? Oh, heaven help us, it'll be the grim raper himself. The who? Oh, that's what they're calling him in the tabloids. The one who called up 2 nurses on the phone and then killed them. I think with me he got the wrong number. Did you call the police? I talked to them this morning. They'll contact the phone company and I suppose put some kind of monitor on my line. And they might be able to trace the call. And then they could catch him and put him behind bars. I doubt if that would solve his problem. Well, it would solve yours. Keeping you awake the whole night and scaring you half to death. You know, I'm not so scared as I am bushed. I need help a lot less than the man does. Or the young man I'm going to see now. If only we could find the magic key, Parksy. But what is that now? A key? And for what? To unlock the box we keep our brains in. And let all the creeping ancient bugaboos fly out and blow themselves out of the world. Oh, here comes Mary. Go on home, Parksy. Feed your old cat and water your flowers and count your blessings, because there's nobody who doesn't love you. Morning, Larry. Morning. Still feeling totally antisocial?
What do you want from me? Thanks for the loyal sweetness service. Heavy screened windows, restraining straps on my arms and legs. I guess I'm lucky I'm not in a straitjacket.
Well, the nurses tell me you wouldn't stay in bed. They had to put you in restraint.
There's no cop outside anymore. I figured I was free to get out of the cage a little.
Well, I persuaded the police you didn't need a guard. You kind of let me down, you know.
Oh, how come?
The little girl's mother lodged a pretty severe complaint against you. In your position, I want to keep it out of the papers.
Why don't you just let me along?
Larry, you're going to have to answer for what you did. If I can tell them the why, or understand the why, you may not have to be locked up.
Look, maybe I need a shrink, but I don't need a dame.
I know you're ashamed of it, and can't face yourself, and would like to work out your hostility on someone, anyone, to try to wipe out your shame, but it won't work that way. You want to make one deal?
What?
Promise me you'll stick to your room and do what the nurses tell you. Look, I happen to be a fan of yours, and I want this to stay as small and as unimportant as I think it really is. We all flip one way or another because life is a little more than any of us can handle. Most people get away with it. Nobody knows. You're not most people. And with you, if anybody knows, the world knows. You don't want that.
Oh, Lord, no.
So we got a deal?
You got a deal.
Good. Now, for the record, I signed you in as a concussion case. You're just under observation till it can be written off. Forgotten. Cured. Dr. Hunter here. I'm on my way home. Do me a favor. Call my telephone service and tell them. I'm so pooped I haven't even the strength to dial.
Dr. Hunter?
Who's that? What happened to the light?
Oh, either burned out or someone knocked it out.
Who are you?
Oh, don't be alarmed, Doctor. Here, my credentials. Detective Sergeant Grant.
Oh, I'll have to take your identification on trust. It's so dark I can't see anything. What are you doing here?
Oh, you did call the police. I checked the hospital and found you were on your way home. I got up here and
With the lights out, I thought I'd better hang around.
Thank you. I appreciate the protection.
In your case, we're willing to go a little further. I'd like to come in and talk to you, if I may.
Why not? Excuse me. Well, come in.
If you wish. That was rather foolish, Dr. Hunter. You still haven't checked me out.
You want to know something? I'm honestly too tired to care. Anyway, I prefer to trust my instinct. It's more dependable than my knowledge of police credentials.
Well, you have a nice place.
Well, it looks better in the right light. How about that?
Better. I got the report on you when I came in this evening. Even without having met you, I thought this was rather a special case.
Oh, why?
Well, first, because your caller may be a man I'm sure you've read about in the papers.
I hadn't, but one of our nurses tells me he's quite notorious. The Grim Raper?
It isn't funny, Dr. Hunter. He's killed 2 nurses. Both of whom he'd warned in advance. Now, I hope you'll cooperate with us in trying to trap this man.
I don't like the word trap. It has other connotations. The man is sick. I want to help you find him and cure him, if possible. More important, to stop him from harming anyone else and destroying himself. So how do we do it?
Well, it isn't quite that simple. This phone thing goes on all the time. And we don't know if the man who called you is the man who murdered those girls. Now, the phone company is more than cooperative. They go along when it's important. And in your case, they agree it is.
Well, what's so special about me?
Well, you're a psychiatrist. You don't start at shadows. You can handle a man who's potentially dangerous. Now, for example, if by chance he should call tonight, I have everything set up at Central to trace the call. Your line is being monitored now. But you'll have to hold him on the phone as long as you can for the company to be sure of making a fix. Could you do that?
I can try. I can also tell you that I'm just as anxious as you are. But I don't think my man has any connection with your Grim Raper.
How do you know?
I don't know. It's instinct. I just think the man who called me was no run-of-the-mill psychotic. I've got the feeling that he was, or is, a man with a temporary aberration.
Wasn't it about this time that he called you last night?
Yes.
It's someone who knows your habits, has some idea of your schedule. Midnight. Is that about when he started last night?
Yes, but it could be the hospital.
Now, wait, as long as we're there.
My service picks up after 4 rings.
You have an extension in the kitchen?
Yes.
Okay, pick up. I'll get on the extension.
Hello?
Hello, my lovely. This is your unseen admirer. Why did you have to spoil it?
I don't understand. What do you mean, spoiled?
You went to the police.
No, really, I didn't.
We would have been so wonderful together. All the things I told you we'd do. Now, it's over.
No, wait. Why did it have to be? Give me a chance to tell you.
You'll never be able to tell me anything. I'm going to put an end to it. Once and for all. Don't worry. It'll be quick. Farewell, my lovely.
I'm afraid he got away. Hang up, Dr. Hunter, and let me check the phone company. I'm going to put an end to it once and for all. An end to what? To the obscene and furtive phone calls? Or does he mean to Dr. Margaret Hunter's life? I'll return shortly with Act 2.
Inside you're free after all. You hear some spirit like a wild bird call. Inside you're free after all. Living free.
like breaking loose, and so off you go in a Skyhawk. Buick's sleek, low-slung 2+2 road machine. Its streamlined nose thrusts rakishly ahead. Its spirited V6 engine supplying the motion. All of a sudden, living free becomes second nature. Skyhawk. Catch one at your Buick dealer now. Inside you're free. Inside you're free after all. Living free. Living free.
Save a little and save a lot more at the Northwest Federal General Store. That's where you'll find a giant Cracker Barrel of gifts. Gifts for savers by famous makers we all know. The Sunbeam hand mixer, the Schick style dryer, a Presto pressure cooker and Waring blender. And they're all free or priced for special savings when you save $250 or more. See them all in our newspaper ads. And now you can save at 3 centers of interest in the Great Northwest Territory, on Irving Park Road, on Debster Street in Des Plaines, and now in Norridge in the Harlem Irving Plaza. So save where you get the highest interest rates allowed by law, and get free gifts too, from the Cracker Barrel of gifts now at Northwest Federal Savings. But come in soon. Some styles and colors are limited. 1 gift per family, please. Offer good for a limited time only. Remember,
it's Northwest Federal Savings Time, 63 hours a week.
Margaret Hunter's reaction at her unwanted suitor's rejection is at first relief. Then, as a doctor, comes a feeling almost of guilt. Dangerous as he might have been, the man is in need of medical attention. But in the kitchen, checking with the phone company, Detective Sergeant Pete Grant is troubled, from his professional point of view, with a different reaction entirely. The anonymous caller's last words spell to him not necessarily goodbye, but a dangerous threat.
I don't suppose they were able to trace it.
No.
Well, that appears to be the end of that.
my fault. I must have been clumsy. Well, I guess I ought to get along. You must be tired. Sorry I wasn't more help.
You were a lot more than you know. Even though my conscience bugs me a little, I'm glad it's finally all over. It's kind of a spooky experience. Look, can I offer you a drink?
Yes. I mean, well, I don't want to scare you, but...
But why?
You may not be out of the woods yet. Anyway, I'm taking no chances till you are. Would you answer me a question?
If you let me take the couch, it would be a welcome switch. You can have the chair.
Now, the voice was disguised, of course, but are you sure it couldn't have belonged to anyone you know?
Quite sure. Well, as sure as I can be. I mean, I'm reasonably certain it doesn't belong to any of the the friends I have.
How about patients?
Oh, life has a way of going in cycles. There aren't any male patients that I'm treating at the moment whose disturbances would drive them in this direction.
Yes?
Well, there's one boy at the hospital, but...
What's his diagnosis?
More or less a classic manic depressive.
Could he have been the one who called you?
I don't think so.
Who hospitalized him? When? What was the reason?
I don't want to talk about that boy.
Why?
But he's quite a famous athlete. And this is the first time he's done anything like this. He comes from quite a troubled home, and his first chance at making a solid life for himself has been through his athletic prowess. He's with one of our local teams, and if the story ever gets in the press, his career will be, well, if not over, it will be certainly over in this town.
And he broke the law, right? Police case?
Yes. He's on our detention floor for observation. Except I persuaded them to leave the police guard off.
Why?
I want a cure, not a conviction. Even the little girl's mother didn't want to press charges. The child was too young to have been affected by it. I made sure of that.
What was the guy on the police blotter for?
Well, nothing very pretty to have on your record. Indecent exposure.
I quite agree. You take that right in your stride?
Well, in my book, it's a symptom, not a crime. It doesn't need punishment. It needs treatment.
Which is not always successful.
Which is not always successful. In this case, though...
In this case, how can you be sure it's only a symptom? Isn't an anonymous phone call just as indecent, particularly the early ones you received?
Yes, but it wasn't Larry's voice.
You said yourself the voice was disguised. I heard that.
Even so, I don't think Larry could get that deep or so gruff. Look, just because the boy made one mistake...
Now, look, Dr. Hunter, believe it or not, on the psychiatric side, a cop sees almost as much as a doctor. I'm not leaning on this boy. I'm concerned for myself and for you. For myself, because this case of the guy who killed the 2 nurses at your hospital has been my baby from the start. Now, both of them have reported obscene phone calls prior to what happened to them. But we couldn't pin the guy, and we didn't stop him. Well, this time I'm not taking any chances, since at least there's a possible lead. I'm going down to the hospital right now.
But he couldn't have called me.
Are you sure?
Well, he was under restraint until...
What is it?
I had him taken off restraint and heavy medication. He could have called me tonight if... Wait a minute.
What are you doing?
Checking with the hospital what time he was put under restraint.
So it couldn't have been Larry.
Impossible. They had him in a wet sheet first at 11 till he promised to behave, and the rest of the night they had a harness on him. And the nurses were in and out. He couldn't have moved. And anyway, there's no phone in the room.
Okay, that washes that out.
Detective Sergeant... Heavens, what a mouthful that is. Do you have a name?
Peter. Pete to my friend.
So far, you're still a friend. But speaking of being washed out...
I know, Doctor, but I'm not quite ready to leave yet.
Why not?
Because you're too unconcerned for your own good.
Now, what does that mean?
I think I ought to shake you up a bit. The guy who's been calling you, how do you know you're through with him?
He just said so, on the phone. Goodbye, my lovely, remember?
He also said, I'm going to put an end to it. Maybe that's what he said to the 2 nurses before he raped and killed them. Now, this case isn't closed yet, Doctor. Now, I want to ask you to be careful. I wish we had enough personnel to cover you around the clock, but we haven't. Would you like a gun?
No, thanks. Not my style. Besides, I wouldn't know how to use it.
Well, then at least promise me to take it easy. Don't travel alone. Keep your car doors locked. Keep the chain on your door when you open it. This is my home phone if you can't reach me at the precinct number. The precinct number's there. The badge number is 352.
I don't need a number. I have a name. Thanks, Pete Grant, PD.
Don't mention it. Margaret Hunter, MD.
I appreciate your concern, Sergeant. But I think it's all over for me, so I'll say goodbye.
I don't like your choice of phrase.
Which one?
Both of them. I hope this isn't goodbye. For personal reasons, I mean, of course. It's been nice meeting you, Doctor.
Same here. We could even things up a bit. It's Margaret. My friends call me Marge.
Good night, Marge.
Good night, Pete.
I'm not leaving till I hear those bolts go home and the chain on.
Okay, Bulldog Drummond. Satisfied?
For the night, anyway.
You should have listened more closely to your mother, Marge. A policeman is your friend. good afternoon, Dr. Hunter. Hi, Parksy. Ah, you're on your way to see Larry Hamden? Right. Well, he's been waiting for you all day, and the plainclothes policeman was in to see him early this morning. Did he upset him? No, not the way I understand it. Now, Larry's been a doll ever since you had the talk with him yesterday, and I just don't see the sense in keeping him here anymore. Tying up a room we could use. Well, I'm glad everyone else is busy arranging his future. Do you think it might be all right if his doctor gives him a check over? Oh, well, no. I don't need a kick in the behind to know my leg is being pulled, Dr. Hunter. And you know I wouldn't give you a bum steer. Go and see the boy for yourself.
That cop told me how you took up for me and what's been going on around here. I sure owe you a vote of thanks all the way down the line.
I've got a season pass at the stadium, Larry. I want to see you out there again as soon as the team's back off the road.
When do we start our session so I can understand why I could have ever done a dumb thing like I did? I told you today was our first. I'm going to leave you to get dressed. Then I'm going to march you down and sign you out, and then I'll walk you to the bus and we'll talk on the way. Then you'll go home. Now, starting tomorrow, I'll see you twice a week after practice. And the story, as far as anyone else is concerned, is what I said at the beginning. You had a slight concussion, which cleared itself up physically. You were only on the psycho floor for observation. You know, Doc, you are something else.
When you get my bill?
You just write the figure. I'll pay it. There's another dude who thinks you're something else, too.
Oh, who?
The cop who checked me out this morning. But he's worried about you.
Oh?
He's written me off as the nut who's after you, but he still feels you're in danger. How'd you like a defensive tight end who goes 235 in top shape as your bodyguard?
You solve your own problems, Larry. I can handle mine. But thanks anyway. Go on now, get dressed and let's get out of here. Dr. Hunter, I'm going home. I don't expect to be taking any calls, but you leave me live till I cut you off. If I don't answer by 4 rings, forget it and just take the message. That's right. No, if I don't answer, I'm out and can't be reached. Thanks, Judy. Night. Oh, Dr. Hunter. Yes? Well, I wonder, would you mind, could you help me back to bed? Why, of course. Where's your room? It's just down the hall. Oh, I appreciate this. I just guess I'm not quite as strong as I thought I was. I just had a baby, you know. Congratulations. Oh, this is my room. Now, if you could just help me into bed. Use the steps. Uh-huh. Here we go. Oh, there. Oh, thank you. That feels good. My husband's coming to see me any minute now, and I wanted to be on my feet. Well, no sense in hurrying it. I'd like you to meet him. Well, it's rather late, and oh, you don't recognize me, do you? Should I? You do seem a little familiar somehow, but I'm afraid I so seldom get to the maternity pavilion. No, you wouldn't know me from here. Well, it's just that I live in the same apartment building as you. Oh. Well, my name is Louise. I'm Mrs. Charles Benson. Well, how do you do? I should apologize, but I'm afraid I'm a typical cliff dweller. And there's so little. I don't know any of my neighbors. Oh, that's all right. You're a busy doctor, and, well, we don't even live on the same elevator bank, but, well, you're, like, well-known. I mean, a woman psychiatrist and all, and, well, I'm just glad that I have the chance to say hello. Me too. I wish you could wait to say hello to my husband. He's the one first pointed you out. Well, I wish I could, too, but I've had a long day, and I really must get home. Tell your husband I'm sorry I missed him. Here he is now. Charles, will you look who helped me back into bed? Dr. Margaret Hunter from our own building. Oh, how do you do, Mr. Benson?
How you do?
My congratulations on your new baby. And now I really have to run. But Charlie, what's the matter with you? Has Cat got you down? I'll leave you two alone. Charlie, that wasn't very polite.
Oh, my lovely. But you look wonderful.
What? Hello, my lovely.
Hello, my lovely. Scarcely the most modern of phrases, a little stilted and old-fashioned. Still not necessarily that individual or damning, and Margaret Hunter was too tired and hungry to make any more of it, which was her mistake, as we shall see when we return shortly with Act 3. That's the question when you catch the common cold. Sneezing, drips, congestion. Then take 12-hour contact. You need 6 cold tablets, 2 every 4 hours, or 3 ounces of cold liquid, 1 every 4 hours, or just 1 contact for up to 12 hours continuous relief of those symptoms. The tiny time pills do it. Both the others contain things for aches and fever. The liquid, something for cough. Not found in contact. Your cold, your choice. 6-301. Take contact. Only as directed.
Tell me something. What do you think of when I say Culligan?
Culligan?
Uh-huh.
I think of water.
Yep. Everyone gets that right away. I guess it's because Culligan's only business is good water.
Just water?
Just water. In 85 countries all over the world, Culligan's full-time business is the softening, filtering, and conditioning of water.
Full-time?
Full-time. And Culligan water softeners come in a bigger selection and a wider range of prices, with exclusive features like triple hull tanks and like that. Your Culligan man is a man who cares.
Say, does the Culligan...
So do as your neighbors do. To rent or buy the leading brand of water conditioner, just call your nearby Culligan man.
All right. Hey, Culligan man.
There's his truck now.
His truck? I thought he'd come in a boat.
You don't have to buy a Culligan water softener to enjoy all of its many benefits. Now you can rent a Culligan for as little as $5.50 a month. For complete information, pick up the phone and say,
Hey, Culligan man!
This is WBBM Chicago, News Radio 78. 34 degrees at Midway, the WBBM time, 11:04.
It was a weary Dr. Hunter who ate a light dinner at the hospital cafeteria and then headed for home. There comes a moment of exhaustion when the mind simply suspends itself and refuses to function any further. Coming out of the elevator to her apartment, she was even too tired to be annoyed that once again the hall light was out, and she had to scrabble with her key by feel to open the door. But she was rudely awakened to full perception as the door opened, and with a silent rush, a gloved hand was over her mouth, the other arm pinioning hers to her side.
Don't scream. Please, don't scream. Just move inside. Yeah. Yeah. Now, I'm going to take my hand off your mouth. But don't scream. I warn you. I have a knife. And a gun.
I have no intention of screaming, Mr. Benson.
You know who I am?
I'm reasonably sure it's the voice I heard at the hospital this afternoon. Now, will you let me go?
If I do, promise not to make me do something I'll be sorry for.
It's a promise I'm glad to make. I don't want anything to happen that we'll both be sorry for.
Can I trust you?
Well, that's my question. Can I trust you? Come in.
Mrs. Benson?
Yes.
My name is Pete Grant. I thought I might find your husband here.
Oh, Charles was here, but he left early. He had a lot of work to catch up on. Are you from his office?
No, I have some business with him. When did he leave?
Oh, about an hour ago. I could call him at the house.
Oh, that's all right. I can catch him some other time. I'll call him myself. I'm sorry to bother you.
Oh, it's no bother. I wish you could stay and chat.
I wish I could, too, but this is a busy evening for me. Excuse me.
I have to answer it. It might be the hospital.
No. Let her ring.
If you insist.
I have to, Margaret. I can't let Louise be hurt. Now, when she's finally had the baby we always wanted, it would kill her. Kill? Is that what I have to do? What? Why did it stop ringing? Why did the phone stop ringing?
I have a service that intercepts.
Have the phone rings?
Yes.
And that means you're not home. Good. It'll give us a little time together before... It'll give us time. Look, Service, I'm calling from the hospital. I understand, but this is police business. Oh, I don't care what Dr. Hunter told you. You keep ringing her till you get through to her. Yes, I'll hang on. I thought you said the service intercept.
Supposed to.
Then why don't they?
It must be some emergency.
That ring is driving me mad. Don't you have a cut-off switch or something?
Only on my bedroom.
Well, go in there.
If you just let me...
I told you I had a knife. Move.
All right, I'm moving. Just don't do anything foolish.
Don't you? Now cut off the phone by the bed. Quick!
All right.
Will it never stop?
Maybe if you let me tell the service not to put through any calls.
No. Stay away from the phone. If we wait long enough, they'll give up. That's better. I thought you'd never know who. And now you hold my whole life in your hands, Margaret. Once I might have wanted that. But not now. Now that Louise has had the baby, I have to think of her first. I have to protect her. Don't you see? You see that, don't you? What else can I do but kill you? What else can I do?
You could face your real problem.
Huh? What problem?
That you need help. Psychiatric help.
Aren't you afraid of me, Margaret?
No.
Why not?
Because if I were, you might kill me, Charles.
Why do you call me Charles?
You call me Margaret.
That's the way I always thought of you. Margaret. And I had no right. Not with Louise. Well, you see, she must never know. You see that, don't you? I have to get rid of you. Then there's no one to tell her.
That makes sense. On a pathological level.
You understand?
I understand a great deal about you, Charles.
You think I'm mad, don't you? Insane. Lunatic.
I do not.
You said pathologic.
That's a scientific word. The others don't mean anything.
Oh, you think I'm sick?
What do you think, Charles?
I'm not sick. I'm just... That collar's too tight. It's hard to breathe. You don't know what it's like.
You couldn't understand. Look, I never had a girl. Any other girl but Louise. Well, she's not pretty, but she's a good girl. We were married after college. I was never any good with people. I was too shy. I didn't work with girls. Talking, dating, everything. Louise understood. She was so patient. Except for the child. We never could have a child like she wanted. We went to doctors for years and years. I hated it. What business was it of theirs? Our private life. What did they think? Did they think I was the one to blame? Were you? No. We worked it out. We did have a child. You worked it out, or the doctors? What's the difference? Well, anyway, there were other things. Louise was having a baby. She didn't need me anymore. She didn't want me that way. All she thought about was the baby. And I was alone again. I was more alone than I'd ever been in my life. Is that when you started calling women on the phone? I wanted to frighten them, to hurt them, to get back at some women for what Louise was doing to me. I only did it twice. And each time afterwards, I was sick. I was ashamed of myself. What kind of man was I? How could I do such a thing? I couldn't explain it to myself. You could have gone to a psychiatrist. No. He could have helped. No. How could I even begin to tell him about myself, what I'd done? How could I talk about such private things, even to a psychiatrist? Well, you're talking to one now. I knew you were in the building. The first time I called, I was going to ask for help. I was all alone downstairs in the apartment. The walls were closing in on me, so I looked up your number and I called. And then when I heard your voice, all I could think of was you. Soft and warm in a bed. Alone. Like me. Alone. The whole world was against me. Making me alone. And so I wanted... Poor Charles. Why didn't you follow your first impulse before it was too late? Is it too late? You can't help me now. Give me the knife, Charles. Knife? Where did I have it? Oh, yeah, here. Here. Margaret, what am I going to do? I don't know. I wish I could buy back time for you, Charles, and for your poor wife. But it's too late. The girls are... What girls? The nurses you raped and murdered. Isn't that what you were planning to do to me, too? What nurses? The ones you called on the phone before you called... Charles, listen to me. Those first two women, how did you find their numbers? Find them? Well, I just picked them at random out of the phone book. They weren't nurses that worked in my hospital? I don't know. Then you're not the man in the papers. The one they call the Grim Raper. That murderer? What kind of a monster do you think I am? I never saw either of those other two women. Oh, Charles, then there is hope for you. Hey, who's that? I don't know. Open up, Margaret. It's police. Me, Pete. The police? Here we are. Now put that knife down. I told you I had a gun. Come up, well, I'm coming in. Trust you. I didn't know he was coming, Charles. Margaret, are you in there? Are you all right? Of course I'm all right. I'm warning Benson. If he's in there with you, there's three of us, and we're all armed. Now I'll have to kill you and myself. Oh, don't be a silly boy, Charles. Give me that gun. That's better. You can come in now, Pete. And you can put your gun away, too, Detective Grant. I think you'll find that Mr. Benson and I have solved all our problems. Home sweet home.
The candle in the window still isn't burning very bright.
Oh, you mean that bulb. I'll get the super to replace it in the morning.
I wonder if Benson was responsible for that.
Oh, let's not blame any more on him.
Blame? I'd like to have given him one good shot for putting you through what he did. Lady, you sure have guts.
How did you happen to come charging up like St. George in time to save the lady from the dragon?
Oh, that's simple. I got interested from the very beginning in the case.
Oh?
Yeah, once we picked up the other guy this morning, the one responsible for the nurses, I got to thinking about you. The case, I mean. How did the guy know you'd called the police in? Unless it was someone right in the building. So I ran a building check and came up with three possibles.
Three possible what?
Lone birds who might take a notion to make naughty phone calls. The singles. One, salesman out of town. Two, a guy who's MC at a nightclub and was in the middle of his act when the phone call came the night I was here. So, it looked like it had to be number three, Benson.
And it was.
Can you really cure him, do you think?
Well, I haven't had time to evaluate his case, but I'm optimistic. Drink?
No, thanks. Yeah, we're both beat. I still have to get a statement from you to close the file.
I'll give it to you right now.
Oh, there's no hurry. It'd give us a chance to meet again and for me to get up enough courage to ask a question. Good night, Marge.
Good night, Pete. Oh, brother, Pete was right. I am beaten. It's getting to be a lifestyle. Tonight, nothing keeps me awake. Uh-oh, just to be on the safe side. Lock it up. And so to bed with no more interruptions. Oh, no, not again. There can't be any more left. Hello?
Marge, it's Pete. Calling from the lobby. Did you lock up?
Yes, sir.
I thought maybe I'd better ask my question tonight.
All right. What is it?
Do lady psychiatrists ever go out with lonely detectives with no psychological problems? Like tomorrow night?
A girl gets the darndest phone calls. But I like this one. Why not, Pete? Why not?
A trip through the haunted hallways of the mind. I wonder if Dr. Margaret Hunter ever located the golden key in Charles Benson's case. Now that's interesting. I wonder also if men ever receive obscene phone calls from lonely ladies. Only one way to find out. I'll let you know when I return shortly.
This is Arnold Palmer. In golf, we call someone who plays exceptionally well a champ. And a champ works to win. His whole way of life is geared to that talent, that ability in him which makes him win. Well, that's one way of living. But there are others. And the March of Dimes offers us some of those ways. Ways to work to prevent birth defects. Or ways to help kids born with birth defects. For many of those kids, a way of life is a difficult direction to discover. But for most of us, it's not. By us, I mean young people, middle-aged people, senior citizens, everyone. As honorary national chairman for the March of Dimes, I can tell you that the greatest gift you can give any handicapped child is a little understanding, a little encouragement, and a chance to appreciate life. Won't you help join the March of Dimes today and find a way of life?
As a matter of fact, Dr. Hunter did find that golden key, and Charles Benson did find a cure for his schizoid tendencies. Well, at least his paranoia. And just as Margaret Hunter had predicted, Louise was patient and understanding, and most of all, forgiving. They pass each other every so often in the hall and nod pleasantly. Neighbors, if not friends. Something else. Oh, yes, that phone call. Just a wrong number. Still, for a long while, every time I pick up a phone, and perhaps you too, will have just a momentary flutter of butterflies under the heart. Our cast included Celeste Holm, Wesley Addy, Robert Dryden, and Mildred Clinton. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. And now, a preview of our next tale. And we are left with all the dirty work.
What do you mean?
The time has really come for you to stop asking the very answerable question. In the name of medicine and research, we gather bodies, right?
Using already flesh, which can render up to us secrets of how to handle living flesh, is not a valid crime.
On that basis, you have an argument. If the flesh is already moribund, but body snatching is a rewarding crime, and if there is no body to snatch, with the kind of man who plies this trade, do you think he would hesitate to wait for the flesh to die if his source of supply ran low?
Oh, good Lord, what are you saying?
Oh, don't pretend innocence. If your conscious brain will not admit the truth, your subconscious one knows it. And you signed for the bodies tonight.
Radio Mystery Theater was sponsored in part by Buick Motor Division. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
WBBM Chicago, News Radio 78.